Chapter 387. Zhang Feng looked up at the smoke floating in the sky. He could smell the strong smell of medicinal herbs in the air. He could not help but breathe a deep sigh of relief. This thing was really created. He did not know what skills Lao Li and the others had used, or was it the research of the Emperor and Sun Simiao? After all, the Imperial Institute of Medicine of the Tang dynasty was not to be trifled with. There were many capable people, and Sun Simiao was there as well. How could they, who played with medicinal herbs all day long, not know what he knew? Zhang Feng shook his head. He focused on the tricycle in his hand again. The carriage of the tricycle was still made of wooden planks. If it was made of iron, he would need an ox to pull it instead of a bicycle. The carriage was easy to make. The most practical material was cedar wood. It was cheap and light. The tricycle was not complicated. The most complicated part was the tire and the transmission chain. Zhang Feng used 10 days to make the entire transmission system using 5 large and small gears and a chain as thick as a thumb. He looked at the thick smoke in the sky. He looked at the rain-like locusts. Zhang Feng patted the seat of the tricycle and prepared to take it out for a walk. However, just as he took the tricycle to the street outside the shop, a discordant voice suddenly sounded behind him. Fengzi, what are you tinkering with? The voice naturally belonged to Cheng Chumo. At this time, Cheng Chumo, Li Chengqian, and Zhang Sun rushed over with their arms around each other's shoulders. They had just finished controlling the locusts, and they could not sit still anymore. They hurried over to Zhang Feng's place to have a drink. After all, there were too many things to do during this period of time, so they were so busy that they were almost paralyzed. Moreover, Li Chengqian came straight here after coming down from Mount Longsho. They discussed and formed a team. However, they did not know that Zhang Feng gave them a big surprise as soon as they met. Zhang Feng's face darkened when he heard that. It was impossible to hide the car now. When he turned around, the 3 of them had already surrounded the tricycle. They were touching it here and there. That damned Cheng Chumo actually lifted it up with one hand and smashed it heavily on the ground. Zhang Feng's eyelids twitched when he saw this. Hey bro, why are you guys here? Wasn't this thing just finished? I haven't tasted your wine for a long time, so I missed it. Zhang Sun said to Cheng Chumo, who was about to overturn the tricycle. By the way, brother Zhang Feng, what is this? Li Chengqian pointed at the tricycle. I had nothing to do, so I tinkered with a cart for the past few days. Let's go, this isn't anything good. Tai Nyo, carry it into the shop. Let's drink. You guys came at the right time. I had nothing to do yesterday, so I went swimming in the river and caught a few carps that weighed 3 catties. Let's go. I'll give you guys an appetizer today. Cheng Chumo and Zhang Sun looked at Li Chengqian with a strange expression. Li Chengqian, on the other hand, walked in without blushing or panting. Although their father had ordered that no one was allowed to eat carps, who was Zhang Feng? He was their brother. Others couldn't eat carps, but Zhang Feng and his brother could. Not long after, Zhang Feng came out with a plate of pickled fish and a grill with burning charcoal. The grill emitted the spiciness of pepper and dogwood, plus the numbing taste of fresh peppercorns. It instantly filled everyone's mouth. How could they wait? When the dishes were placed on the table, they couldn't wait to dig in. Li Chengqian didn't eat. He pointed at the backyard behind the curtain and said, Brother, what is this? You haven't told me yet. This. Isn't this the improved handcart? Look. Zhang Feng took a bite of the fish head and simply hugged the fish head with his hands. He crossed his legs and said, That thing is actually just a handcart. There's nothing much to say. It's just that the oxen, horses, and mules pulling the cart were replaced by manpower. Manpower? In an instant, their interest was aroused. Under Li Chengqian's signal, Cheng Chumo resentfully put down his chopsticks and carried the tricycle into the hall. Seeing this, Zhang Feng also knew that if he didn't explain clearly, these guys wouldn't give up. He simply put down the fish head, sat on the seat, and showed it to everyone in the hall. Everyone's eyes were fixed on it. Let's go, this is a divine tool for showing off. Brother, I didn't expect Feng Zi to be such a stubborn guy in his bones. Let's go, let's stroll on the street. I guarantee that all the girls and wives in Chang and city will be charmed. Get lost. Zhang Feng was anxious. This thing is just for transporting goods. What do you mean by a divine tool for showing off? Don't mess around. Lao Tzu spent a lot of money on this thing. No one is allowed to have any ideas about it. As he spoke, Zhang Feng pushed the tricycle to the backyard like it was a treasure. Li Chengqian knocked on the wine bowl. Cheng Chumo and Zhang Sun instantly understood. Didn't you not let us play with it? Is this what brothers are like? When Lao Tzu gets you drunk, you'll be more frivolous than anyone else. Chapter 388. Come. Brother, what are you talking about? We're brothers. Since this is Feng Zi's beloved item, how can we, as brothers, joke around with our beloved item? Come, Tai Nyo, will drink a cup as punishment. I'll also drink a cup as punishment. Ligon, I was rude, brother. What do you mean by drinking a cup as punishment? We have to take a bowl. Don't you think so, Feng? Zhang Sun winked at him, causing Zhang Feng to have goosebumps all over his body. The three of them changed to wine bowls and gulped down a large bowl of wine. Only then did they pant and grab a handful of fish without using chopsticks and start gorging themselves. Oh right, Feng, are we brothers? He really ate a mouthful. Chen Tiniu was unhappy. He looked at Zhang Feng, who was eating the fish eyeballs with disgust. Zhang Feng was stunned. That's why we're brothers. The three of us have already drunk, so why don't you drink? F*CK, you guys are F*King, F*King, didn't you guys want to drink? What does this have to do with me, Zhang Feng? If you want to drink, then drink. Lao Tzu doesn't drink. Zhang Feng turned around angrily. In terms of drinking, he definitely couldn't beat these cowards. These people grew up soaking in wine from a young age. How could they compare to them? They only needed 8 taels of wine to make him drunk. This was a big bowl. A big bowl was already half a caddy. How could he drink it? Moreover, these fools were holding 65% alcohol. He didn't dare to drink it. So I thought that Feng really treated us as brothers. It seems that Chongzi was thinking too much. Isn't that so? To think that we treated him as a brother and secretly went to the imperial plantation to get him a tiger. This is good, the Sai. Alright, if you don't want to drink, then don't drink. Let's go, it's too boring to drink. Tai Nyo, swallow Descent Restaurant's arrangements? Let's go. As they spoke, the three of them were about to leave. How could Zhang Feng endure such provocation? Isn't it just drinking? Lao Tzu did not believe that Lao Tzu could not risk his life today. Stop F*King acting. Who do you think you are? Come, let Lao Tzu drink. Whoever doesn't drink it is a bastard. Zhang Feng finally couldn't help but explode. This group of bastards was really F*King infuriating. Not to mention them, were they F*King going to the heavens? Fine. Since you want to drink, then? The Zhang Feng didn't like that the wine jars on the table were all opened, so he directly took out a few jars of good wine from the wine cellar. However, this was something that he had prepared for everyone to drink. He had long known that this group of bastards would come to mess with him. The incident at Swallow Descent Restaurant last time had left him with lingering fear. How could he do such a stupid thing again? When Zhang Feng came out of the wine cellar panting, the few of them looked at him with a playful expression. He had done something to these jars of wine. This group of people had learned to be shrewd. They had learned to read the numbers on the jars. This was incredible. How could Zhang Feng do it? This wine was taken out from the wine cellar. Other than himself, no one knew which jars had low alcohol content. I say, brother, this wine of yours, do you think I don't know you guys? I just brewed this wine and haven't processed it. Usually I can't bear to drink it. Today, we are going to drink this wine that has just been brewed. Alright. Cheng Chumo was overjoyed when he heard this. He hurriedly picked up a jar, opened the mud seal, and took a whiff of the fragrant wine. His entire person changed. When the few of them saw this, how could they still care about their manners? They were all drunkards. There was no need to pretend. Even Li Chengqian put down his identity as the crown prince. Like everyone else, he opened the mud seal and began to taste it. Good wine. Feng Zi, you're not being kind. If you had such good wine, why didn't you take it out earlier? Come. Brothers, let's drink. Wait. However, at this moment, Cheng Chumo smiled and held Zhang Feng's hand, saying, Brother, we're all brothers. Come. It's not satisfying to drink like this. Come, let's drink. This way, we can drink to our heart's content and increase the relationship between us brothers. How about it? Of course, Zhang Sun and Li Qingqian had nothing to say. They agreed with a clap, but Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. How could he not know what kind of wine this was? The wine that he could drink was definitely the wine from the last dish. It was basically like drinking cold water. The wine that Cheng Tinyu and the others drank was more than 70 degrees. It was over now. Zhang Feng regretted it very much. But how could he say anything now? He saw that damn Cheng Tinyu raise his head and gulp down the wine. And it was the kind that didn't let go. He didn't spill a single drop on the ground. This scene made Zhang Feng's eyeballs almost pop out of their sockets. Come, it's your turn. Cheng Chumo handed the jar of wine that originally belonged to Zhang Feng with a playful expression and said, What could Zhang Feng say? He closed his eyes and poured it into his stomach. Come on, I've been tricked. The key was that he couldn't say it. Just like that, a jar of wine, after a round of 4 people, was emptied. This was 2 caddies of wine. On average, each person had half a caddy of wine in their stomach. Even though this was the lowest amount of wine, it still made Zhang Feng a little dizzy. However, the horror was not over. That damn Cheng Tinyu actually picked up the wine jar and drank it again. Brother, it's your turn. Chapter 389. What could Zhang Feng say? What could he say when he looked at the 3 pairs of eyes that were rolling around in front of him? Anything he said now would be an excuse. He could only grit his teeth and look at them as if he was going to die for justice. Brothers, let's drink. When the 3 of them saw this, they were overjoyed. They didn't even eat the dishes. Their eyes were wide open, and Zhang Sunchong was even counting with his fingers. Don't ask why. They were all waiting for Zhang Feng to lie down. Zhang Feng couldn't drink. This was something they all knew. Every time they came to drink, getting Zhang Feng drunk was a basic action. If it wasn't Zhang Feng who got drunk that time, but one of them got drunk instead, it would be embarrassing if word got out. All of them had been drinking since young, so they were all veterans in the field of wine. Dong! Pa! The first sound. That was the sound of Zhang Feng falling on the table. The second sound was the sound of the wine jar falling to the ground. Fengzi? Hey! Fengzi, wake up. Your wife is here. Fengzi? Brother Zhang Feng? The 3 of them shook Zhang Feng tentatively. Seeing that Zhang Feng was drunk like a pig, they revealed a deep sense of ecstasy. Done. Tai Nyo, carry Fengzi to the bed. Chongzi, go take that so-called tricycle out. I want to personally try this treasure. How could the 2 of them sit still? If it was something that Zhang Feng treasured so much, then it must be a real treasure. Since he didn't want to ride it? Fine. Lao Tzu will get you drunk. If you get drunk, won't what's yours be ours? The few of them quickly threw Zhang Feng on the bed. Cheng Chumo even smacked Zhang Feng's butt and said, Fengzi, that tricycle of yours, we brothers will help you try it first. As they spoke, the 3 of them ordered their subordinates to squat in front of the door and guard it. Then the 3 of them pushed the cart and slipped away. As soon as he left Tong Huifang, Li Qingqian began to worry. The 3 of them squatted on the ground, looked at the tricycle and asked, Bug, do you still remember how Fengzi rode it? I seem to remember that Fengzi used his foot to step on this pedal, and then the car moved. Chu Mo, you're the strongest here. Why don't you try? You do it. Cheng Chumo's eyes widened as he stared at this magical thing. He didn't know what to do. All right, if Lao Tzu wants to come, Lao Tzu will come. Zhang Sun also got excited and spat into my palm. Then, according to his memory of Zhang Feng, he sat on the tricycle and placed his foot on the pedals. But no matter what he did, the tricycle wouldn't move. This time, a few hundred people were offended. Chu Mo, you mother****, push Lao Tzu. Is this thing broken? Why isn't it moving? Let me try. Cheng Chumo carried Zhang Sun and fiercely slapped his butt. Zhang Sun grimaced in pain. F****, You mother **, Lao Tzu asked you to push, not slap. Do you think Lao Tzu is a horse? Oh. Cheng Chumo shrunk his neck and hurriedly pushed the back of the tricycle forward with all his might. Needless to say, this thing really moved. This scene involuntarily caused the three of them to jump up and down in excitement like children. Li Qingqian was also excited. Bug, quickly step on it. Yes, quickly step on it. The faster you step on it, the faster it moves. Wait, you two wait. Help me up, I want to sit on it and experience it. Wait. Mother **, I asked you two to stop. Seeing that he couldn't catch up with Cheng Chumo and Zhang Sun, Li Qingqian became angry and directly shouted. Hearing this, the two of them awkwardly turned a corner on the street and stopped next to Li Qingqian. Sir, please get on the car. Only then did Li Qingqian put on an act of flinging his clothes and sitting in the carriage with a big prick. One person rode, one person pushed, and one person sat. And it was such a strange thing. And it was actually the two devil kings of Chang, and who came in person. Was this crazy? The people who were catching locusts in Chang and city, as well as those rich people, were dumbfounded. Looking at the strange appearance of the three people, everyone was puzzled. I say, what's wrong with Devil Chin? Is he drunk? He must be drunk. Otherwise, damn. Shoo. Are you crazy? How dare you talk about Devil Chen's ears? Don't you want your legs? **CK. More importantly, what is that thing they are riding? Have any of you seen it before? I don't know. It's probably something good that the people from the Ministry of Works came up with again. The three of them were having fun. Everywhere they passed, everyone retreated. And those who knew the three of them felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Especially when they saw the Crown Prince, everyone's eyes were about to pop out. Oh my God! This is the Crown Prince? Lord Sun, I thought I saw wrong. Didn't the Crown Prince go to Mount Longsho to light the beacon? What's going on? I don't know. Forget it, let's report this quickly. At this time, Zhang Sun, Li Qingqian, and the other two people were also having fun under the influence of alcohol. Although this thing wasn't as practical as a horse, it wasn't as comfortable as a palanquin, and it required a lot of effort. However, this thing was really cool. Cheng Chumo looked at Yen Lai restaurant in front of him, pointed, and shouted angrily, "Target Yen Lai restaurant, let's go!" Chapter 390. Chang and city was very lively that day. Under the effect of the fire beacon, the locusts fell down like rain. Everyone ran out to pick up the locusts, and Yen Lai restaurant was no exception, except for the noble singers. The rest, especially the lowly prostitutes, had long been driven out by the madam to make money. It had been almost half a month since the opening of Yen Lai restaurant. Yen Lai restaurant was extremely poor. This was a good thing that fell from the sky. Not making money now? When would they make money? Moreover, this was clean money. Who would dare to say anything? If that was the case, the procuress or the prostitutes would definitely spray their saliva all over that person's head and face. This was clean money. But at this time, how could the stubborn children of Chang and city be absent from such a prosperous day? Although they didn't need to work, they could still drink and listen to music in Yen Lai restaurant. At the same time, there was also the delicate Hu Ji. Hugging her in their arms was very comfortable. They hadn't been out for a few days, and they had been bored to death. But at this time, cries of surprise rang out in front of Swallow Descent restaurant's door. All of the stubborn people sitting on the second floor couldn't help but become interested. They all turned their heads to look at Chang An's main street. Even Jing Shu, who never left her house, was drawn in. On the main street, Cheng Chumo was riding on a strangely shaped thing. As he walked, he excitedly pulled out a large amount of money from his bosom and threw it into the crowd. Although Cheng Chumo, Li Qingqian, and the others had changed their names and even put on some makeup, there were still a few people who recognized them. At this time, the jaws of those who knew them were hanging on the ground, not to mention those who didn't know them. **CK, what is Demon King Chen doing? Did his father beat him until he went crazy? Sigh. Damn the plague of locusts. At this time, another stubborn child looked up and sighed. This plague of locusts must have made Demon King Chen and Demon King Sun go crazy. Isn't that so? What else could it be? Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what that thing is under their crotch? I don't know, but isn't this thing a little too strenuous? If you have the skill, why don't you ride a horse? At the very least, a sedan chair only costs 10 copper coins. Do you think they don't have that? Crazy, this must be crazy, my God. Everyone couldn't help but wring their hands. However, there were also people who were excited. Everyone had been tortured to the brink of insanity by these 4 demon kings. Now that 2 of them had gone insane, everyone's chance had arrived. In the past, the 4 of them had set a rule. No matter how stubborn one was, no matter what he did, it would be fine. However, if one did something like snatching a girl or bullying the weak with a gun, the 4 of them would make one wish that one was dead. They had also set up a stubborn 10 rules. As long as one was a rich young master in Chang and city, no matter who one was, they would have to memorize it. Otherwise, they would not even know how they became crippled. Moreover, the relationship between these 4 demon kings seemed to be very strong. Even if someone went to sue them, they would be finished the next day. Especially the one called Du Dabing, he will make you cry. Even if she didn't make you cry, she would drive you crazy. This person's strength was the most terrifying. He was one of the most terrifying people among the 4 demon kings. I'm Chuntinyu. I once heard that when he was drunk, he carried a big stick and fought his way into the Zongjing Temple. The 3rd leg of the Zongjing Temple's supervisor was broken. However, the next day, this bastard could still walk on the street with a swagger. This matter was left unsettled just like that. This time, it was also the battle that made Demon King Chen famous. After this incident, who didn't know the names of the 4 demon kings? As long as they saw him on the street, they would definitely turn around and run away. At this time, looking at Demon King Chen's funny appearance, everyone tried hard to hold back their laughter. Someone couldn't help shouting, "Brother Chen, brother son, what are you doing? Brother Chen, brother son, what are you guys sitting on? Yes. 3 masters, your mounts are quite strange. Can you tell us what it is?" Haha, everyone didn't know Li Chengqian. Because under normal circumstances, Li Chengqian couldn't casually leave the palace. His identity was there, so very few people knew him. Only occasionally would he come to Yanlai Lu with Cheng Chumo and the others to sit for a while. It was very low-key. So it was normal that no one knew him. Cheng Chumo drove the car to the entrance of Swallow Descent restaurant in an incomparably flashy manner. Seeing that it was about to crash, Cheng Chumo fiercely pressed down on a metal plate. With a screech, the car skidded through the dirt and came to a steady stop in front of Swallow Descent restaurant. This is a new thing my brother came up with. Since he has nothing to do, brothers, let's help him try it. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but be surprised. Brother Chen, then this brother of yours, don't ask what you shouldn't know. Cheng Chumo waved his hand coldly. Only then did the 3 of them enter Yanlai restaurant. At this time, Li Qingxian's walking posture had changed. Most of the places in Chang and city were paved with bluestone. The bottom of the car was made of hardwood. Although the section in front of Yanlai restaurant was also made of bluestone, because of the flood last year, a lot of mud and sand had been washed up. No one cleaned it up, making it even more cratered. He seriously suspected that his butt had been split in half. But now was not the time to look. Moreover, there were people he knew. He could only endure the pain and wave his folding fan while smiling and cupping his fists at everyone. Chapter 391. The Arrival of the 3 Patrons. Instantly, the brothel keeper became excited. She stopped picking up the money on the road. She scolded the crowd, "You bunch of blind B***cheese. Distinguished guests have arrived. What the F***ck are you all doing? Why aren't you greeting the distinguished guests? Serve good tea. Chui, quickly bring out your newly arrived Huji sisters and give them to the 3 masters. Serve them well." She scolded the crowd. The brothel keeper shook her fat butt and bent over like a dog. She came to Li Qingqian's side and smiled brilliantly. She definitely knew Li Qingqian. Moreover, if she didn't know which family had a rich young master in Chang, and then she wouldn't be qualified to be a brothel keeper in Yanlai restaurant. "This young master, please. Please take a seat upstairs. Yesterday, 30 Huji came from the western region. Among them, 9 of them are stunning beauties. I've already prepared them for you. Then I'll have to trouble you. Li Chengqian nodded and went upstairs without even looking back. When Cheng Chumo and Zhang Sun saw Li Chengqian turn around, their eyes immediately turned red. They grabbed the brothel keeper's collar and asked in a low voice, "Are you telling the truth?" The brothel keeper was so scared that her face turned ashen. 2 young dukes, even if we have great abilities, we wouldn't dare to deceive that master. "Ha! That's good, that's good. Come, look at the reward. Today this master is happy. All the expenses of Yen Lai restaurant will be on me, Shin Tiniu." "Ha! Good. Then, many thanks to Brother Chen and Brother Sun. Come. Brothel keeper, bring wine. Bring us 2 of those Huji from the western region. We won't forget the reward." Everyone was stubborn, so naturally, those who had too much money had nowhere to spend it. Seeing Cheng Chumo and the others take out gold ingots and throw them away, it was destined that he must have gone crazy from holding back his money. Everyone was excited. In their excitement, they also grabbed a bunch of money and threw it down. Cheng Chumo was indeed going crazy from holding it in. Previously, the procuress had always been on guard against them. But today was different from when Li Chengqian came. Such rare goods were really plentiful. Cheng Chumo and Zhang Sun were overjoyed. They threw out a handful of banknotes from their pockets. The eyes of a certain type of woman turned red. They rushed forward to snatch it. The brothel keeper's hands trembled as she held 2 gold ingots. Her smile was as brilliant as a flower. Second floor. Spring Pavilion. Under the instructions of the procuress and the pimp, in less than 10 minutes, everything looked brand new. Even the teacups and chairs were replaced with new ones. As soon as he entered, he saw 10 pretty ladies standing on both sides of the door. When they saw the 3 of them, they greeted them as young masters. That voice made the 3 of them weak in the knees. "Well, since Brother Chin is treating us today, why don't we let that Jingshu girl play a song?" At this moment, it was unknown which idiot had shouted out loud. In an instant, the entire Swallow Descent restaurant quieted down. Even the procuress's hands trembled, and the 2 gold ingots in her hands fell to the ground. Silence. Silence. There was a deathly silence. It was as if someone had pressed the pause button. Everyone stared at the person who just spoke as if they had seen a ghost. That person was also dumbfounded. What's wrong? What's wrong with everyone? Isn't it just letting Jingshu girl play a song? Get lost. Who the hell do you think you are? Are you worthy of letting Jingshu girl play a song? Men, drag Lao Tzu out and break his legs. Send him back to his residence and tell his father that I, Chen Tinyu, and young Master Li said to ask his father if he's worthy. Lao Tzu said before that this Jingshu girl is my brother's wife. I'm sure you all know about Jingshu girl's vow? Damn it, Lao Tzu hasn't come for a few days. Who dares to break Lao Tzu's rules? Procuress, you bastard, get your ass over here. Cheng Chumo exploded in anger. Even Li Chengqian's face was ashen. Although Zhang Feng didn't agree to this Jingshu girl, even Imperial Father had tacitly agreed. She was Zhang Feng's brother's woman, yet he didn't dare to have any ideas. Who the hell dared to be so bold? Moreover, Imperial Father had once mentioned this matter at retired Emperor's birthday. Among the hundreds of officials, who didn't know? Who the hell was this? Who dared to touch his brother's woman? The procuress and the pimp's legs had already turned to jelly. They stumbled and crawled to Li Chengqian, crying to the heavens. That person was also dumbfounded. He was about to question something, but the person beside him whispered something in his ear. He suddenly looked at Li Chengqian with a changed expression. Young Master Li, this lowly one is drunk. I beg young Master Li to let this lowly one off. Men, break his third leg. Send it to his father. Li Chengqian didn't say anything. He directly threw a white jade token to the procuress, then turned and walked into the spring fragrance pavilion. How could the procuress not know what to do when she saw the jade token? At this time, after the person was dragged away by Swallow Descent Tower's hired thugs, he recovered a bit. But at this time, A cold voice came from the attic. May I ask this young master, was that thing at the door made by Prince Xiang? Why didn't Prince Xiang come? Chapter 392. Hearing this, everyone's expression suddenly changed again. Who is Prince Xiang? This, damn it, there didn't seem to be such a stubborn person in Chang. And the person who could be remembered by Miss Jingshu, who would be the one who cracked her zither music. Clouds of confusion pressed down on everyone, making it hard for them to breathe. But at this time, everyone knew what was good for them and did what they should do. Regardless of whether they asked or not, what did it have to do with them? Be careful not to lose your life. Seeing Jingshu's question, Li Qingqian was also worried. He used his elbow to touch Zhang Sunchong. Zhang Sunchong was in the meeting. Holding a fist and palm salute, he said, Miss Jinggu, we meet again. That's right, the thing outside is called a three-way carriage. It was created by Prince Zhang recently. He is very busy, but he misses Miss Jingshu every day. Then why didn't he come? Could it be that he dislikes my birth? In the cold voice, Jingshu Chong plucked the zither strings, seeming to be a little annoyed. Zhang Sunchong was not good at speaking seriously, and now he was in a dilemma. Li Qingqian shook his head and said lightly, Miss Jingshu, don't worry. Although everyone in Chang and knows about your matter now, there are still young talents who are not convinced. I heard that the Dragon Boat Poetry Meet will be held this time. Although it is a little late, it will definitely be held in 3 days. At that time, Brother Zhang will naturally fight the world's literary heroes and let Miss Jingshu walk out of Yanlai restaurant with dignity. Hearing this, in the attic, Jingshu Chang's cold eyes flashed with a touch of excitement. But it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Then, thank you very much. About the poetry meet, I would like to trouble you to help him. After all, I don't know anything else, but this huge 18 strokes, I will show you my incompetence. Since Prince Zhang has cracked the zither music, then today, Jingshu will announce this name here. But presumably, Mr. Li already knows this song? How could she not know Li Qingqian's identity? For people like them, the first thing they had to do to survive here was to recognize people clearly. Therefore, it was too easy for them to know about the Hygge 18 beats. But at this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. He was also shocked. 18 strokes of the Wuxia? This? I seem to have heard that this is Kai Wenji's famous song. What? Wasn't it lost a long time ago? How is this possible? Oh my God! I finally know why no one can crack it. It's been King lost. But who is this so-called Prince Zhang? How did he decipher this song? Ding! As the melancholic sound of the guzheng rang out, the entire Swallow Descent restaurant fell into silence. The moment the song's indignant zither intent rang out, everyone seemed to have sunk into that kind of endless sorrow. Anger, a kind of leisurely anger, instantly filled everyone's hearts. The 18 beats were over very quickly. But very quickly, more than 2 hours had passed. 2 hours later, the guzheng music was stopped, and there was no more sound coming from the attic. Cheng Chumo couldn't sit still anymore. Since Miss Jingshu is performing, then let me show you Brother Zhang's tricycle. While talking, Cheng Chumo found a few strong and agile guys among the stubborn people and went downstairs. Everyone couldn't sit still anymore. They wanted to see what was so magical about this magical thing. Cheng Chumo sat on the tricycle and waved his hand coquettishly. Everyone, I can tell you about this thing. Although my brother didn't tell me about the magic of this thing, I can tell you that this thing is much more interesting than riding a horse or sitting in a sedan. Every pedal has a pattern. If you master it well, although it's not as fast as a horse, once you think about it, if you use it as a carriage or a war chariot, how spectacular would it be on the battlefield? It's faster than all the wooden carriages we use now. While talking, Cheng Chumo didn't believe it himself. This thing was too strenuous. But considering that he was showing Jingshu the good thing of Zhang Feng's brother, how could he not do his best? One had to know that at this time, if he performed well here, once Jingshu married into the family, wouldn't Zhang Feng be obedient as long as she blew a gentle breeze? What kind of man was he to be so stingy when learning something from him? Jingshu watched very carefully. However, watching Cheng Chumo and the other two playing on the tricycle in the attic, She even keenly saw that a few things fell off the tricycle, and the wheel seemed to be a little deformed after bumping in a pothole. This thing, although looked so magical, but could it be that this was still an unfinished item? Otherwise, with Prince Zhang's character, why didn't he tell them? Did they secretly take it out? Thinking of this, Jing Shu instantly lost interest. Thank you for your demonstration, Child Qin. I hope Child Qin can quickly return this thing to Prince Zhang. I'm tired today. Jing Shu will leave first. While speaking, Jing Shu disappeared from the attic window. And those ministers' sons were even more confused. Prince Zhang? Who was that Prince Zhang? Who exactly was the person who could make Jing Shu protect him like this? Chapter 393. Jing Shu had left. But the banquet was still going on. Especially with the addition of the Huji girls, the atmosphere suddenly became more lively. The exotic singing and dancing made everyone even more interested in poetry, and even more interested in drinking. When Li Chengqian was drinking to his heart's content, he stood on the table, raised the wine pot, and shouted, "When toasting, don't stop drinking. Let me sing a song with you, please listen to me." Buzz! Everyone was in an uproar. Even Jing Shu, who was in the attic, was shocked. She hurriedly sent a maid to ask Cheng Chumo, and was shocked to learn that this poem was also Prince Zhang's poem. Jing Shu was relieved. Initially, she was still worried that no matter how talented young Master Zhang was, it would be impossible for him to win the hearts of all the scholars. However, things were different now. Now, with this poem, Zhang Feng would definitely shut up all the literary giants in the world. Prince Zhang, what have you been through? How can you have such an artistic conception? When toasting, don't stop drinking, when can I be by your side? Even in a lively banquet, there were times when the music ended and people dispersed. No matter how drunk one was, there were times when one would wake up. When the sky was dark, Zhang Feng woke up groggily. It was not that he did not want to wake up, but he had to urinate. When he went out to pee in a daze, he almost got peed in his crotch. Zhang Feng was dumbfounded when he saw the severely deformed tricycle. It could even be said that it was scrapped. In the next moment, Zhang Feng was furious. Chen Tiniu, Lao Tzu, F***ck your ancestors. Damn it, don't let Lao Tzu see you again. At this moment, not only were the tires of the tricycle constricted, but the wheels were also triangular. Not to mention riding it. He couldn't even push it away. He seriously doubted how this idiot had done it. The wooden boards of the carriage were all broken. Even the chain of the tricycle had snapped. In any case, the tricycle now would only be a piece of scrap metal in the future. Mother****, Lao Tzu had never ridden one before. Was it scrap just like that? Mother****. Feng Zi, what are you howling about? At this moment, hearing the wolf's howl, Zhu Zi's father and old he hurriedly rushed into the tavern with their carrying poles. They thought that Zhang Feng's tavern had been robbed. This was a big deal. But as soon as he entered, he saw the strange thing in the shadows in the courtyard and was puzzled. Feng Zi, what did you lose? Or what? Yeah, tell me. What's wrong? What's wrong with you? Burglarized? Or what? Say something. Uncle, my heart is bitter. Zhang Feng was filled with sorrow. Mother****, this is worse than being robbed. This group of D******men things, they don't take my hard work seriously. The two of them understood. At noon, although they were busy catching locusts and making money, they clearly saw the three stubborn guys take this thing out of Zhang Feng's tavern. At first, they thought that Zhang Feng had agreed to it. But now it seemed that there was another reason. Feng Zi, just tell us what's wrong. If these bastards really dared to rob you, Lao Tzu would bite off a piece of meat from them and avenge you even if it costs him his life. When Zhang Feng heard that, he hurriedly waved his hand at the two men who were so anxious that their eyes turned red. Forget it. I was drunk and fell into their trap. Next time, I'll get back at them personally. When the two of them heard that, they did not say anything else. How could the two of them not understand that this guy was angry out of humiliation because he could not outdrink them? Alright. If you're a coward, don't compete with others in drinking. I told you to get married earlier and marry Miss Zhang. Wouldn't that be great? If you do it yourself, hurry up and find someone to watch over you. You're going to lose your life. The two of them shook their heads and sighed. They did not stay and left. Zhang Feng smacked his lips. What else could he say? Wasn't he asking for it? Ever since she was born, she had to let her father dip a mouthful of wine in her mouth before she would cry. She was a person who could drink wine the moment she was born. Why would you drink with her? Great, isn't it? Zhang Feng kicked the tricycle angrily. No way. He would look for old Chen tomorrow and make him pay. He could not let him off so easily. Damn it. When he saw the tricycle, Zhang Feng felt a toothache. He decided not to look at it. He covered his head and fell asleep. While Zhang Feng was sleeping in the palace, Li Shimin was also listening to the reports of his subordinates with great interest. From time to time, he would burst into hearty laughter. Great! Haha, I really want to see what that tricycle looks like now. If this thing is really as Cheng Chumo said, then I'm also looking forward to the future of the Tang dynasty. That's right. Ask the Crown Prince to come here. I want to ask him personally. By the way, is he back yet? Chapter 394. Your Majesty, there hasn't been any news from the Eastern Palace, so we don't know if the Crown Prince has returned. However, Prime Minister Wei and Lord Zhongsun are waiting outside the hall. Little Gizi hurried to the door and asked. Li Shimin waved his hand. Summon them. Summon Wei Jing, Zhongsun Wuji, and Fang Xianling for an audience. Little Gizi shouted at the top of his lungs. The three people who had been waiting outside the hall entered the imperial study unhurriedly. This old subject pays respects to your Majesty. My beloved subjects, sit. We just heard an interesting news. Brother Zhang Feng came up with another good toy. Oh, may I ask your Majesty, what good thing is it? Although everyone knew what had happened, they didn't dare to say that they knew. They pretended to be confused and surprised. When Li Shimin saw this, he clasped his hands behind his back and paced back and forth in the imperial study. I heard that the Crown Prince, Chong, and that brat Chumo had obtained something called a tricycle from Brother Zhang Feng and were wandering around Chang. I also heard that they had caused some trouble at Yen Lai restaurant. Tricycle? What is this thing? Why haven't we heard of it before? Brother Zhang Feng is hiding it from us. Isn't that so? The last time I went to his place, if it wasn't for my quick reflexes to ask for a pot from him, I reckon that the pot would still be hidden by him. It would have been better if Zhongsun Wuji hadn't said anything, but his words instantly caused the others to roll their eyes. This guy had stolen it from Zhang Feng and his brother, and now he was still showing off? If not for Brother Zhang Feng being too embarrassed to say anything, do you think you're the only one who can do it? You're the one with the thickest skin here. Enough, let's not talk about that matter anymore. We get angry every time we see that pot of yours. Let's talk about the tricycle. What do you think of it? Your Majesty, this old subject has learned about this matter from Chonga, and I've also learned a little from the people of Swallow Descent Pavilion. Although this carriage is good, it can't be used. This old subject has estimated that the cost of this carriage is around 1,000 copper coins. To tell the truth, it's not as good as the wooden carriage. Li Shimin frowned when he heard this. Fang Xianling also stroked his beard and said, Your Majesty, this subject just went to the treasury and took a look. Although that thing looks awesome, this subject always feels that it's not as fast as a horse, and it's not as reliable as a carriage. If the front wheel is removed and the carriage is put on, then it's bound to be like what Cheng Chumo said. It can be even lighter and faster than the bronze chariot. Hearing this, Li Shimin's eyes lit up. Wei Jing nodded. That's right, that thing has a drawback. The wheels are too small. Once this problem is solved, then all the problems will no longer be problems. I see. Li Shimin stroked the beard on his chin, wondering if he should find the Zhang Feng brothers to personally take a look. He always felt that this bastard brought this thing out without Zhang Feng following him. Could it be that he was like Zhongsun Wuji and took it out? Wuji, did you ask Zhongsun Wuji if that carriage was taken out with the approval of the Zhang Feng brothers? Or was it them? Also, did the Zhang Feng brothers explain this thing in detail? Zhongsun Wuji's face stiffened. Your Majesty, Zhang Feng was drunk by those little bastards. The carriage was stolen by them and has been returned. Li Shimin was speechless. But he could not say anything. He waved his hand and said, "Wait a moment. Go take a look and ask about the details." "Okay, by the way, Your Majesty, I just learned that old Sheng has returned from Longyu. Why don't you let him go?" This old subject still needs to inform the officials of the Ministry of Personnel and the Chang and local treasury about the locusts. Then, Li Shimin rubbed his forehead speechlessly. "If there's nothing else, you may leave. Your Majesty, this old subject has a memorial to report." Wei Jing hurriedly said. "Speak." "Your Majesty, the Chang, in garrison and Yuzhou have sent an urgent military report. The fodder for all the warhorses is basically used up." "Okay, I understand. You may leave." Li Shimin felt a headache coming on. He had just encountered the interesting news about Zhang Feng, and now this matter was brought up. How could he not have a headache? Moreover, the memorials and documents about this matter had piled up on his desk like a mountain. All the memorials had only one thing, and that was to ask for fodder. And now, the fodder from Xianxia and Sui province, which were the closest to here, would arrive in Chang, and in 5 days, not to mention the places further away. The livestock in these places were hanging by their mouths. It was not a problem for a short period of time because there was hay to sustain them. But what should they do when the time was long? "Little Gizi, what's the situation outside the city now?" Li Shimin asked after they left. Little Gizi was stunned. "Your Majesty, I don't know, alas. Come, let's go out for a walk. I want to see for myself if there is any fodder after the locusts are controlled." "Yes." Chapter 395. In Chang'an City, all the people were hunting for locusts like crazy. The insecticide on a beacon tower was still burning in the distance. From Chang'an City to Hedong Road, Hunan Road, Jianan Road, Shannon Road, Jiangnan Road, and Longyu Road, all the beacon towers were lit. There were even people who used the fire belt that Zhang Feng had mentioned in a suitable area. They used the method of burning. In addition to the supplementary herbs that were burned in the fire, this instantly reduced the threat of the locusts. But this was just a facade. The locusts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth continued to pour in from the direction of Longyu and Tuyuhun. Li Shimin waved his hand again. He mobilized all the pharmacies and collected all the herbs that could be used to weaken the locusts. But now, the locusts' momentum was gone. Tuyuhun and Tubo didn't believe Li Shimin at first. But when they saw the situation, they took the prescription that Zhang Sun Wuji gave them and learned from the Tang dynasty. They implemented it bit by bit. Although people were a little dizzy and some even had diarrhea, at least the locusts were eliminated. This was undoubtedly a good news for them. At this time, the people of Tubo and Tuyuhun didn't thank their king. Instead, they thanked the emperor of the Tang dynasty. If it weren't for him, they would have been dead by now. After 3 days, the locusts were finally stopped at the root. But looking at the barren land, everyone was dumbfounded. How could they plant crops like this? All the crops in the fields this year were fed to those damn locusts. How could they survive? At this time, Li Shimin and his people had arrived near the Shirley Slope outside Chang'an City. Li Shimin and his people were about 300, but each of them pretended to be people catching locusts. At this time, the trees on the Shirley Slope were still there, but there were no leaves. On the trees and on the ground, there were dense locusts that were dizzy from the insecticide. Looking at this barren land that stretched as far as the eye could see, Li Shimin asked in astonishment, "Little Gizi, this is Shirley Slope? I remember that this place used to be lush with vegetation, and it was all jungles. But why are the trees all bare? Where is the grass?" "Your Majesty, it's all eaten by locusts, it's all gone." Little Gizi's face was full of grief. Li Shimin felt dizzy. If Wei Shuyu hadn't been smart and supported Li Shimin might have already sat on the ground. How is this possible? Li Shimin was shocked. Is this the power of locusts? If it weren't for Zhang Feng and his brother's formula, they wouldn't have been able to control most of the locusts in such a short time. Even if they wanted to achieve the current results, it would probably take more than a month. Thinking that next year, which was the 3rd year of Xinguan, there would be a more serious locust plague than this one, Li Shimin couldn't help but feel scared. If this was true, then all the herbs this year had been used up. What about next year? What about next year? He didn't think that if they did this year, all the locusts would have been killed before the breeding season. Plus, all the chickens and ducks would have gone to war. Then, where would there be locusts next year? Plus, there would be fire. And if Tubo and Tuyuhun used the herbs that could directly kill locusts, then where would there be locusts next year? Even if there were, it would only be a few, far from the scale of this year. Li Shimin didn't think of all this at this time. He was just shocked by everything in front of him. Jijie. At this time, a large flock of ducks and chicks, with no end in sight, were being herded by hundreds of people from afar. At this time, the ducks' bellies were full. Under the herders herding, they circled a large area by the Wei River for the ducks to rest temporarily. It seemed that tomorrow, the 10-mile slope would be their next battlefield. It wasn't until he saw the ducks and chicks that Li Shimin's mood improved slightly. After all, although everything was bare now, as long as there were no more locusts, the 10-mile slope would recover in less than a month. It was only a matter of time. If they could control the locust plague this year, what about next year? Since Zhang Feng could think of a solution this time, then what about next year? Thinking of this, Li Shimin felt a little tired and started patrolling again. Laoli? You also brought your servants to make a fortune. At this time, a person suddenly appeared from behind the crowd and waved his hands at Li Shimin. At this time, he was already held down by the Jinwu guards in makeup. When Li Shimin heard the voice, how could he not know who it was? He hurriedly turned around and ordered the crowd to retreat. What are you doing? Let go of Brother Zhang Feng. Brother, why are you here? Li Shimin hurried over and asked. Zhang Feng pointed at the basket behind him. I have nothing to do, right? I came here to see if I could get some game, but as you can see, there are only locusts and grasshoppers here. Didn't you see that flock of ducks? I was thinking of buying a few to make soy sauce duck. Chapter 396. Zhang Feng was very depressed. He couldn't stay in the tavern any longer. He didn't know where old Madame Wang was cramping up. She came to him every 2 or 3 days and asked for his birth characters. She even said that next month would be an auspicious day. However, Zhang Feng rejected her. Today, he encountered such a thing again. How could Zhang Feng not be driven crazy? He decided to go all the way. He closed the door and left. That way, he would have some peace and quiet. The two of them sat in Li Shimin's sedan and slowly returned to the tavern. As usual, Zhang Feng made a bowl of century egg porridge for Li Shimin. This time, Li Shimin was stunned. Looking at the century egg in the bowl, he asked curiously, Brother Zhang Feng, this is century egg. Old Madame Wang always comes to me. Last month, she gave me a basket of duck eggs. I can't finish them all by myself, so I made them into century eggs for her. What's a century egg? Also, duck eggs, aren't they all very expensive now? Li Shimin was in a bad mood. Looking at the black and translucent century egg, he asked. Ordinary people would definitely not be willing to eat this egg. Moreover, as far as he knew, a duck egg or an egg could be sold for at least 10 copper coins. However, food was only 6 copper coins now. Moreover, it was in such a serious situation. Zhang Feng sighed heavily. Brother, there's something you don't know. Old Madame Wang would definitely not be willing to take out these eggs, let alone 30 of them. My boyfriend, who hasn't seen her for the new year, secretly gave them to her and asked her to bring them. Zhang Feng was a little speechless. Li Shimin suddenly understood. Everything made sense now. However, there was another problem. That was the egg. What was it? Although he had never doubted Zhang Feng's culinary skills, looking at the shiny black thing in the spoon, he really lost his appetite. However, under Zhang Feng's instigation, he took out a whole century egg from the kitchen and ate it with relish in front of Li Shimin. He even drank a mouthful of wine. This time, Li Shimin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He subconsciously took a bite of the century egg in his spoon, but in the next moment he couldn't help but frown deeply. This egg didn't have any strange taste, and it was very chewy. Brother, this egg, don't ask, I won't tell you even if you ask. Zhang Feng directly interrupted Li Shimin. This is a treasure. This is something I'm preparing to present to the emperor when I enter the imperial court. Since you're here today, I'll let you have some. Let's make it clear first. You mustn't tell anyone about this, especially Chen Tinyu, Chong Buggy, Li Gan, and the others. Li Shimin pursed his lips. He looked at Zhang Feng with a look of disdain. However, Zhang Feng didn't even bother to look at him. After a while, when Li Shimin carefully tasted a big bowl of bone-strengthening powder porridge, Zhang Feng mysteriously rubbed the door with his mouth and said, "Lao Li, see, I was right." What was right? Li Shimin was dumbfounded. What else? This locust. See what I told you? I told you to hurry up, but you didn't listen. Now, everything I guessed, the emperor also guessed. See if I guessed correctly, brother? What could Li Shimin say? He gave him a thumbs up. You're awesome. Sigh. It's a pity that this deal is over. I originally wanted to make a lot of money with you, and even let you get in touch with some high-ranking officials. Now, it seems that everything has been guessed correctly by the wise emperor. By the way, how's the bone-strengthening powder factory? Well, we'll do it again. Li Shimin touched his nose and pretended to be drinking. What could he say? He was sitting next to him now. He was indeed a little unscrupulous in this matter. But there was no other way, right? Zhang Feng and his brother hadn't been confirmed yet, and he couldn't directly say when they would go to the imperial court. Li Shimin couldn't help but ask, "Brother Zhang Feng, I heard Lord Zhang Sun, the minister of the Ministry of Justice, say that there's a vacancy in the Ministry of Justice." Old Sun told me about this before, but that bastard is unscrupulous. You should have said it when we were talking about it. He even took Lao Tzu's pot away. Zhang Feng was speechless. If I don't go to the Ministry of Justice, not only will I offend people, but I'll also be remembered. Let's not talk about this now. By the way, Lao Li, looking at you today, did something happen? Zhang Feng wanted to ask Li Shimin directly for the loss of the tricycle, but when he thought of Li Shimin's appearance, he couldn't bear to say it now. It would have been better if Zhang Feng didn't say it, but once he said it, Li Shimin's face immediately turned red. Brother, you don't know. As your brother, I'm suffering. When Zhang Feng heard this, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. What kind of trouble did you encounter this time? I remember that you should have made a fortune by now, right? What else is there to worry about? What can't be solved with 100 caddies of bone-strengthening powder? Don't tell me that the bone-strengthening powder in the palace wasn't made by you. Do you know that the price of that stuff is now 100 copper coins per caddy? I'll only ask for this amount of money when the time comes. As he spoke, Zhang Feng stretched out his palm. Li Shimin's eyes widened when he saw this. Chapter 397. I say, brother, you want 50% of it? Zhang Feng pursed his lips. Although we haven't gotten married yet, as an official, we have to do this, don't we? We have to prepare for it. We have to get a house, right? It's best if it's a courtyard. Also, we have to prepare a family property for our future son, right? How can this not cost money? What if the emperor likes our food after we enter the court? Don't you think we have to spend money? So, we have to save some money now. Moreover, the profit from the bone-strengthening powder is a business without capital. Believe it or not, even the emperor has a stake in it. Otherwise, how can it be sold for 100 copper coins per caddy? Wouldn't it be a mess? Li Shimin's mouth twitched. Money was not a problem. No matter how much he wanted, he had to give it to him. Putting aside the fact that the bone-strengthening powder was invented by Zhang Feng, just the salt-making technique, the trade of Zhenla, and the water transportation were all profitable businesses. It was not that Li Shimin did not want to give him money. He had to give it to Zhang Feng even if he wanted a city. However, this was a matter for the future. If he gave it now, it would only harm Zhang Feng. Therefore, he had to wait for Zhang Feng to grow up. At that time, even if he was given a prince or a state capital, it would not be a problem. Okay, I'll give you 50% then. But let's say this first. You know how profitable it is. Not only the emperor has a stake in it, you also know that almost all the officials have a stake in it. So, when the time comes, we'll talk about this later. The business of the bone-strengthening powder has to be done quickly. Now that the locusts are hoarding a lot, it's good to hoard more. What's the good? Now when I hear the word locusts, my head hurts. What's wrong with you? Zhang Feng could not help but be curious. He's not making a lot of money. Do you want to announce all of this? That's not it. It would be great if that's the case. Li Shimin shook his head speechlessly. Isn't it because those damned locusts have gnawed away the grass? Now we can only look at the locusts and bone-strengthening powder piled up like a mountain. We can't transport them out. Your cattle and sheep have been requisitioned? Zhang Feng peeled another century egg. While eating, he glared at Li Shimin. Now let the lone cows and sheep, even the war horses in the barracks, are starving. Think about it, how can my mules and horses have the strength to pull goods? I'm starving to death. Zhang Feng understood. No wonder Lao Li's legs went soft when he saw the barren land outside Chang'an City. It turned out that this was the reason. Lao Li, that's all you want? Zhang Feng was in disbelief. Then, do you think there's anything else that can make me worried? Li Shimin seriously doubted Zhang Feng's intentions. This guy might be despising him now. But when he heard Zhang Feng mention this trivial matter, Li Shimin's heart settled down. Once this guy said that, then damn it, there must be a way to solve this problem. But the grass was gone. Unless you can make the heavens rain grass, otherwise, all the livestock will die in less than 3 days. Not to mention the livestock transported from Tubo and other places. Tubo was really cunning. At first, he was hesitant. But when he saw that the locusts were stopped by the Tang dynasty, he couldn't wait to treat the people as livestock and throw them to the Tang dynasty. This idea was really smart. Once the Tang dynasty starved these livestock to death, what was the problem? At that time, they could ask for as much as they wanted. If the Tang dynasty didn't give them anything, they would have to give back everything they took before. This was what Li Shimin was really worried about. Lao Li, you're still too. This is not a problem. Since we're partners now and these cows and horses are useless, it will affect the income of our bone-strengthening powder, right? Okay, I'll give you an idea. I guarantee that your cows and horses will be fatter and stronger than the pigs that eat locusts outside. Li Shimin really wanted to despise Zhang Feng, but Zhang Feng's next words instantly made Li Shimin's eyes pop out. Lao Li, do you still remember the bone-strengthening powder factory I mentioned before? You can be a little more flexible. Why can't the cows, sheep, and horses eat something that can be eaten by people? Li Shimin was stunned. Zhang Feng patted Li Shimin's shoulder, and then said earnestly, actually, this is not a problem. Think about it, our current output of bone-strengthening powder and the speed of collecting locusts are seriously unbalanced. I guess many of the locusts in your warehouse are spoiled, right? Think about it, the food that humans eat has to be washed and the internal organs removed, but what about the food that cows and sheep eat? These locusts eat grass. Do you think the cows and sheep will eat them if we grind them into powder, process them a little and mix them with the hay to make fodder? That's right, Zhang Lisheng said. That's right. You have to learn to be flexible. Once you're flexible, this will become a profitable business, won't it? While speaking, Zhang Feng glanced at Li Shimin and said, sometimes I really wonder if you're a businessman or not. You can't even think of such a trivial thing? Chapter 398. Li Shimin was shocked. He automatically filtered out Zhang Feng's sarcastic words. He had eaten locusts countless times, and they had even become a must-have dish before going to bed every night. It was the same with the bone-strengthening powder. The locusts tasted fine, but the bone-strengthening powder was different. It had the faint fragrance of grass. Now that he thought about it, if it could be eaten by humans, what about horses? If this thing was really useful, wouldn't all the difficulties of the Tang dynasty be solved? Moreover, if this thing could be eaten by humans, what about animals? Although it didn't sound good, it made sense. Every day, he received news from the treasury and Duruhui that tens of thousands of locusts would spoil every day. It was not man-made, and the weather was too hot. If there were too many locusts, however, if he directly collected them, or if he didn't deal with the locusts that were about to spoil, he would directly take them out to roast and grind them into powder. The effect would be much higher. Li Shimin took a deep breath and cupped his fists. Brother, you are really the god of wealth. Sometimes, I really have an illusion that you are the god of wealth in the sky. How is it that everything, even a rock or a pile of shit, can become a treasure in your hands? Zhang Feng's face darkened. Why do I feel that you are scolding me? Li Shimin laughed heartily. No, 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 I'm just praising you from the bottom of my heart. Come on. Zhang Feng waved his hand and didn't care about these details. Lao Li, do you want to do this business or not? The profit is definitely not as good as the bone-strengthening powder. If you don't want to do it, I will ask the neighbors to do it. By the way, the people of Hui Tong Workshop can also make a little profit. Of course. Who says I don't want to do it? When Li Shimin heard that someone wanted to steal his business, he immediately grabbed Zhang Feng's hand and didn't let go. Zhang Feng was a little speechless. All right. Come here. As you can see, the terrain of Shirley Slope is very good. Do you want to build a fodder factory there? In that case. Wait, what's a feed factory? Li Shimin hurriedly interrupted Zhang Feng and said helplessly, Can you tell me in detail? Every time, you just skimmed over the important parts. I still have to think about it for half a day when I go back. I can't figure it out even with a large group of people around me for an entire night. I still have to come to you. Hearing Li Shimin's words, Zhang Feng glared at Li Shimin and said, Who was it that said I was long-winded? That's enough, brother. Lao Li was wrong, okay? You really have to explain this matter clearly. What is this animal feed factory? Is it that fodder farm? Li Shimin knew that he couldn't win against Zhang Feng, so he hurriedly changed the topic. Zhang Feng thought for a moment and said, That's about it. What's the profit in it? Li Shimin spread out his hands and said. Zhang Feng patted Li Shimin's shoulder and said with a smile like a profiteer, Lao Li, can't you think of this? Let me ask you. Now, are all the warhorses in the Emperor's military camp hungry? I heard that Tubo seemed to have given all the livestock he could at home to the Tang dynasty. Do they need it? This market is born because of demand. Think about it first. Not only do these two places need it, but those merchants, landlords, and old tycoons also have a lot of poultry, cattle, and sheep, don't they? Do they need to eat these things? Li Shimin frowned slightly. He nodded. There's nothing wrong with what you said, but the problem is that once someone finds out that it's bone-strengthening powder, won't my interest soon fade? Yes. Didn't I say that the profit is very faint? Zhang Feng spread out his hands. He added with a smile, Although the profit is faint, as long as you hold on to the military camp and the emperor's large herd of livestock waiting to be fed, your business will not stop. You can even make a lot of money because of this. I see that your Li Qian has the attitude of an official. Once the emperor is happy, not only will you make a lot of money, but Li Qian may also be directly appointed as a supervisor because of this. Isn't that good? Isn't he good? Now, do you still think that he has no profit in it? But the premise is that you have to be fast. As long as you can contribute before the emperor comes up with a solution, then he. Zhang Feng also knew that there was a super think tank by Li Shimin's side. If that was not the case, how could he be more awesome than himself, a transmigrator? Impossible. Unless he was also a time traveler, but that was also impossible. If Li Shimin was also a time traveler, he would have come long ago. His appearance must have attracted the emperor's attention, but he had not been noticed until now. This meant that either the emperor was waiting for an opportunity, or the emperor felt that it was not enough. At the very least, Zhang Feng felt that before he did something that shocked the world, Li Shimin would not give a damn about him. The emperor was the real emperor. He was just a small commoner. Would the emperor come to him personally for such a small matter? He was thinking too much. All the opportunities were created by him. But at the thought of this, Zhang Feng could not help but curse the system in his heart. That damned bastard system. F***CKU. Chapter 399. Zhang Feng told Li Shimin about the animal feed factory in detail. Li Shimin's heart was blooming. Li Shimin could not help but feel excited. After all, there were tens of millions of mouths waiting for him. After they finished talking, Li Shimin was about to slip away, but Zhang Feng grabbed him. Old Li, we've solved your problem, but you'll have to wait a little longer for my problem. Li Shimin was confused. He looked at Zhang Feng from head to toe and saw that there were no wounds on his body. He could not help but ask in confusion, "What happened to you?" His first thought was that the Turks had come again. But when he thought about it, something was wrong. The Turks had not taken any action for a long time. Even the Turk spies in Chang and city had not taken any action. As for the Turks themselves, they were already in a state of chaos. Every tribe was fighting happily as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Li Shimin could not wait to be idle. Now, could it be that Brother Zhang Feng had found some clues? Li Shimin could not help but sit down. But Zhang Feng stood up and urged him, "Come, come, 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 follow me to the backyard. Let's talk in the backyard." Once they entered the backyard, Li Shimin immediately understood. Brother Zhang Feng wanted to ask for compensation. Although Li Shimin had never seen that tricycle before, looking at the 3 wheels and the iron lump that was parked crookedly in the yard, how could he not understand the truth of the matter? He could not help but sympathize with Zhang Feng. "Brother Zhang Feng, what is this thing?" "Ask me. Why don't you ask your son?" "Damn it. Not only did they get me drunk yesterday, but they also stole my tricycle and scrapped it. Old Li, tell me, what should I do with this thing?" Zhang Feng asked. "What should I do with it?" Zhang Feng's face was filled with disdain. "This is something that I spent a lot of effort to create." Zhang Feng's heart ached as he spoke. And Li Shimin finally knew that this thing was really stolen by those 3 guys. "Brother Zhang Feng, what is this thing?" "A tricycle." No, I mean, what's the use of this thing?" "You iron lump, why do I only see 3 wheels that don't look like wheels?" "Hey! Come, Lao Li, let me ask you, do you want to be rich?" Suddenly an idea came to him. But he was interested. If this thing was broken, he could ask his father to pay for it, but Zhang Feng pulled Li Shimin to sit on the reclining chair in the yard and said, "Lao Li, let me ask you, how are you doing with the iron boat?" Li Shimin heard this and nodded. "I'm working on it. I estimate that in 3 months, the first iron boat will be completed." "Good." Zhang Feng nodded. He pointed to the dilapidated 3-wheeled road and said, "Since we already have this iron boat, do you think it's still a problem to build an iron carriage?" "No, this thing, can you use a horse?" "Look, this is the wheel of a carriage, right? Just think about it. If this were to be brought out, let alone transporting goods, even if it were an empty carriage, it would be scrapped in a single day. Look at the shafts and wheels of all the carriages in the Great Tang, and then look at yours." Zhang Feng was despised. Instantly, he became anxious. He pulled Li Shimin and said, "Okay, Lao Li, you're being unreasonable, aren't you? If it weren't for your precious son doing such a good thing, I might be riding a tricycle in Chang and city right now. This thing, don't be fooled by its small wheels. Although it's not as fast as the carriage, do you see the thing on the wheel? Once I turn him into the size of a bowl and saddle him with the fastest warhorse, think about it, you'll be a piece of cake. Think about it carefully. At that time, let's not talk about traveling 1,000 miles in a day. A normal carriage carrying a load of goods basically costs about 300 stone roads and 500 stones. After 100 miles, the carriage will basically be scrapped. It can't be rushed, so the wear and tear will be even greater. But this thing is fine. No matter how much goods you load, you'll be fine as long as you run like a horse. Think about it. Think about it again. This thing is nothing. What's really amazing is that if you saddle a mule with this thing, it will be 100 times more comfortable than your normal carriage. The key to all of this was this jet black thing. Once I get it out, even if your carriage runs very fast, the wine in the wine bowl of the person drinking inside won't spill. Do you believe it?" This, Li Shimin had been stunned for a long time. Although he didn't know what the soft thing was, perhaps it was the same as shoes or horseshoes. But if it was really like what Zhang Feng said, not to mention the wheel as big as a bowl, even if it was as big as a fist, it could, while talking. Li Shimin got up and looked in front of the broken tricycle. Zhang Feng lifted the tricycle and gently moved the good wheel with 2 fingers. Lao Li, look carefully. Chapter 400. In Li Shimin's horrified eyes. The wheel started to rotate at an inconceivable speed. He even saw a small piece of wood being blown gently by the wind as the wheel rotated. How much force did it take? How fast was it? Zhang Feng only used 2 fingers. Li Shimin couldn't help but grab the rapidly rotating wheel. Then he imitated Zhang Feng's action and fiercely pulled an iron plate on the wheel. In an instant, the wheel started to rotate at an incredible speed. Laoli, this thing was ruined by your son. Originally, I was thinking of waiting for you to come so that we could discuss it together and see if we could take this thing and make a fortune. It could even let our name be immortalized for generations to come. What a pity. Now we can't see it. When Li Shimin heard that, he could not help being startled. He asked cautiously, "What do you mean? Isn't it because the raw material of this wheel is limited? The fodder is limited. I only got a little bit. And you haven't seen how awesome this wheel is. Naturally, you don't know how to make it." Zhang Feng wanted to tell him about the rickshaw in the future, but he was afraid that Li Shimin's little heart would explode because of his son's impulsiveness. So, he could only talk about it later. Li Shimin heard that. His fiery heart couldn't help but be splashed with a basin of cold water. He just remembered this thing. When he was chatting with Zhang Sun and the others in the Imperial study, they mentioned something about chariots. At this time, the wheel of a small car wouldn't work. But if what Zhang Feng said was true, then, with a wheel as big as a bowl, would the army's supplies be as difficult as before? In the future, if all the chariots in the army were replaced with this kind of thing, then, if only 1,000 of these things were installed with strong crossbows, who would be a match for the cavalry of the Tang dynasty? Every army only needed 1,000 of these small chariots. But Li Shimin couldn't help cursing Cheng Chumo and the other 2 in his heart. If it weren't for the 3 of them, I might be the first person to experience this thing now. These 3 prodigals, do you know what I lost because of your impulsiveness? What did the Tang dynasty lose? Li Shimin couldn't help but feel anxious. Brother Zhang Feng, is this car, no, this tricycle really so good? Of course. Seeing Li Shimin anxious, Zhang Feng, on the contrary, was not anxious. Think about it. Nowadays, cars are basically made of wood, right? Although this kind of car is cheap and easy to make, its lifespan is relatively short. Moreover, this car can't be easily broken. However, this iron one is different. Once it's made, it will be a long-term solution. What do you think? Do you have any ideas? Do you want to do it together? Once this thing is made, it will be a great thing. Lao Li, think about it. If all the cars of the Tang dynasty were made by your family, what kind of spectacular scene would it be? You will know whether the car is good or not by looking at the difference between iron and wood. Think about it carefully. I'm sleepy. Don't say that, brother. The more Zhang Feng said, the more anxious Li Shimin became. Once this thing was implemented, he had seen the magnificent iron ship. Would this iron chariot be more difficult to make than an iron ship? If Li Shimin was really a businessman, this thing would definitely not be attractive. He would at least be interested. But he was the emperor. When Zhang Feng said that, he instantly thought of 2 things that could be used. The first was the military, and the other was the business operation. Among these 2, Li Shimin paid the most attention to the military. After all, only a strong military could ensure that he could have everything else. Otherwise, if he had everything but the military was not strengthened, then once it was coveted, it would only be a wedding dress for others. Would even Li Shimin do such a thing? It was impossible. Li Shimin would never do such a thing, let alone let go of a chance to strengthen the military. After all, after experiencing the Wei River Alliance, Li Shimin paid more attention to the military facilities. He never wanted to experience the feeling of being blocked at the door again. Involuntarily, Li Shimin excitedly pulled Zhang Feng's hand and said, "Brother Zhang Feng, sometimes I always wonder if you are the god of wealth, but sometimes I feel like you are the Ziwei star official in the sky. But now, I really understand that you are the reincarnation of Lu Ban." Zhang Feng shook off Li Shimin's hand with a look of disgust. No, I am me. The Ziwei star official, the god of wealth, and Lu Ban have nothing to do with me. He did not dare to wear this high hat casually. Once he wore it in the Tang dynasty, where superstition was the strongest, he might really be praised to death. He would not dare to do such a foolish thing even if he was beaten to death. Chapter 401. Zhang Feng had achieved his goal. Who knew how Lao Li would beat up his son when he returned? He had finally gotten his revenge. Most importantly, Zhang Feng was lazy. Lao Li already knew about this. Now that he could no longer hide it, he might as well be a hands-off boss. He believed that Lao Li would not cheat him of the benefits involved. After all, this tricycle was just the beginning. The real giants were yet to come. He knew how to build those things. After all, he had chosen the machinery manufacturing and maintenance specialization. All of this had to wait until that D*Gemin system was activated and he entered the imperial court. It was still too early to do anything now. Alright, Lao Li, look at how excited you are. If you are really interested, then go back and discuss how to deal with those old fogies from the Ministry of Works. After you get the approval, we can talk about this. But let me say this first. I will only provide the blueprint and teach you how to build it. As for the rest, I don't care. As for the benefits, half? No, I only want 30%. Zhang Feng extended 3 fingers and shook them. This thing had to go through the Ministry of Works, Ministry of Appointments, and Ministry of Justice. It would be good enough if Lao Li could get 60%. Hence, he did not ask for too much. After all, if he could build a good relationship with the government, it would be very helpful for him when he entered the imperial court. Although he would not show his face, if he could support Lao Li, that would be good too. The most important thing was that he didn't want to be famous now. After all, in the face of huge benefits, not to mention one person, in the eyes of those officials, even 100 or 1,000 people could disappear quietly. Therefore, for the sake of his little life, Zhang Feng still chose to be behind the scenes. Was it not better to just lie down and earn money? Li Shimin was also a little surprised. But after thinking about it, he understood. This was still not half of the benefits? But this amount of money was really nothing to Li Shimin. Brother Zhang Feng, then this matter is settled? Settled! Li Shimin's mood was greatly relieved. However, when he thought about how Li Chengqian and the other 2 almost ruined his plan, he couldn't help but feel angry. He also felt that he had let Zhang Feng down. Only then did he return to the tavern and bring out 2 jars of wine, handing one to Zhang Feng. Li Shimin raised the wine jar and said, Brother Zhang Feng, regarding the matter of the tricycle, I will definitely make those 3 guys pay the price when we return. I will borrow your wine to apologize to you. Without waiting for Zhang Feng to speak, he grabbed the jar and gulped it down. Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. So this son of mine got me drunk, and now you, the Lao Tzu, are trying to get me drunk? He was drunk yesterday and his stomach was still churning. How could he dare to drink now? Li Shimin was speechless. Okay, I won't drink the wine. How is the matter of the academy? Li Shimin put down the wine jar reluctantly and burped. He smacked his lips and said, We are still waiting for the Imperial College's approval, but it will be soon. By the way, I have seen the desk you ordered. It is indeed a little different from the current one, it's settled. As for the matter of the students, let's get 30 people to test the water first. If it is too troublesome, forget it. Just your precious son and a few people almost took my life. If there are more people and they are all that kind of character, won't I be exhausted to death? By the way, I heard the 18 beats of the Wuxia last night. It is indeed extraordinary. When are you going to marry 2 people? Do you want me to prepare a house for you? I guarantee that it will be more luxurious than the house of Duke. It was fine if he didn't say it. Now that Li Shimin said it, Zhang Feng's head started to hurt. One of them was still muddle-headed, but these 2. There was no need to talk about Jingshu. To be able to survive in Swallow Descent Hall, she definitely had some capabilities. Even though he hadn't met the young mistress of the Zhang clan before, he could tell that she wasn't a simple person from the letter she had written. If one of them were to enter the Zhang clan, he wouldn't be able to live a good life, let alone 2 of them. He did not want to die young. Okay, this matter is not urgent. Okay, I am sleepy. Remember to close the door for me if you have nothing to do. I am still drunk from yesterday. As he spoke, Zhang Feng yawned and lay on the recliner, pretending to sleep. How could Li Shimin not know what Zhang Feng meant? He smiled slightly and clasped his fists. In that case, I will leave first. If you don't want to, do you want me to tell you? After all, Lao Li still have some reputation in Chang and city. Reputation? If you have reputation, why haven't I heard of your name in Chang and city? Zhang Feng rolled his eyes. Okay, you don't have to worry about this matter. Otherwise, you will make a mess for me again. Okay, I will leave first. Li Shimin clasped his fists and left. After all, there were two most important things to do now. The first was the matter of the grass field. As for the second, it was to go back and beat someone up. As soon as he left the tavern, Li Shimin's face instantly darkened. The aura on his body suddenly became dignified. Wei Shuyu, who had been guarding beside him, was shocked when she saw this. She hurried forward. Little Gizi and the others also gathered around Li Shimin at this moment. Have the Crown Prince and the others returned? Yes. Master Li, they have returned. Okay, let the three of them kneel at the door of the Imperial Study and wait for me to return. Wei Shuyu was dumbfounded when she heard that. What was going on? Why were all the fathers in the world the same? Why did they beat their sons when they were angry? But he did not dare to ask. He hurriedly accepted the order and left in a hurry. Yes. I will go now. Chapter 402. Eastern Palace. Li Chengqian, Du Go, Cheng Chumo, Zhang Sen, and Cheng were sitting in the pavilion, chatting about yesterday's interesting news. Du Go was fascinated by it. Chengqian, are you sure that brother Zhang Feng didn't say anything else? No, he already said 8 times, he didn't say anything. If you ask again, do you believe that this crown prince won't allow you to come to the Eastern Palace in the future? Li Chengqian was annoyed. Today was supposed to be a day to be happy. Yesterday, he had been ordered to visit Zhang Feng and received permission not to return to the palace. Last night, he had gone crazy, but he didn't expect that when he returned, his father wouldn't be there. Instead, he met Du Go, who had been waiting at the door for a long time. He didn't know where this guy got the news from, but he knew that they went to see Zhang Feng yesterday. So, he pestered the three of them and asked if brother Zhang Feng had said anything about learning. The three of them had said this many times, and even Cheng Chumo had raised his fist to threaten him. But this guy was like a rock in a latrine pit, not enlightened at all. At this time, Li Chengqian also laid his cards on the table. If you ask again, then don't come. But this time, Du Go also exploded. He didn't believe that these three guys didn't ask anything. And he really remembered that Li Chengqian seemed to be researching algorithms. Was he not curious about the multiplication table other than the division table? Chengqian, don't be anxious. We're all brothers, there's no need to be so secretive. I also heard some things here. If you say it, we brothers might be able to save your life. Tizis. The three of them rolled their eyes at the same time. Debing, you're crazy. I already said that the three of us did go find Feng Zi yesterday, but who knew that grandson's alcohol tolerance was so bad? He got me drunk in minutes and didn't ask anything. Believe it or not, I've already told you. Then what's going on at Swallow Descent Restaurant? Feng Zi got drunk. This crown prince finally got to go out of the palace, shouldn't I go have some fun? Li Chengqian was anxious. But he also faintly felt that something was wrong. He asked subconsciously, how did you know? How would I know? Everything that should be known, everything that shouldn't be known, even the retired emperor knows. Gradually, their expressions changed. A strange feeling made them look at each other. Zhang Sun placed a hand on Du Go's shoulder and asked, Hook, are we brothers? That depends on whether you treat me as your brother or not. Du Go shot a glance at Zhang Sun. He used 2 fingers to clamp that hand down from his shoulder, and even patted his shoulder in disgust. This scene made Zhang Sun want to beat someone up. Then, where did Imperial Father go? He went out. Where did you go? I heard that they went to the 10-mile slope to check out the situation, but halfway there, Shuyu came back and said that she met Feng Zi and went to Feng Zi's tavern. There's nothing wrong with that. Could it be an illusion? Or was Du Go, this grandson, playing a trick? There must be something wrong with this. Li Chengqian couldn't help but stare at Cheng Chumo and ask, Chumo, are you sure you returned the tricycle to Feng Zi? I think I probably returned it, Cheng Chumo stammered. He felt a little guilty. Yesterday, he didn't know whether the method of using that thing was wrong or it was too soft. but the tricycle was deflated before he could play with it. He could imagine the scene when Zhang Feng saw the tricycle and flew into a rage. Just now, they were laughing about how fun it would be if that was the case. But now, he also felt that something was wrong. With Feng Zi's character, he wouldn't tell on him, would he? Once he did, although the emperor wouldn't be angry, with his father's character, he would be skinned alive even if he didn't die. Cheng Chumo couldn't sit still as he thought about it. He patted his butt and was about to run. As soon as he stood up, Zhang Sunchong also thought of something. They all stood up and wanted to slip away. But at this moment, a little eunuch from the Eastern Palace rushed in. "Your Highness, Wei Shuyu is here. He's outside the palace." "What? Why is he here?" Li Chengqian was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Did you see father?" "I didn't see his majesty, but Wei Shuyu was wearing armor and had a strange expression. He also brought a large group of imperial guards." "Your Highness, do you know your crime?" At this moment, Wei Shuyu's loud voice sounded at the door of the shop. This sound instantly let Li Chengqian know that this matter was bad. He looked at the three people and pretended to be calm as he said, "Shuyu, why are you so angry?" Wei Shuyu didn't pretend. He waved his hand and ordered his men to guard the door of the study. He sat on the soft couch and drank the glutinous rice wine in one gulp. "I say, Chengqian, you guys had a lot of fun yesterday. Not only did you not return to the palace, but you also made the emperor furious. What did you guys do?" Buzz. The three people couldn't help but hear a muffled thunder and a voice in their minds. That grandson really did tell on them. We didn't do anything. We just went to see Feng Zi. We didn't do anything." Wei Shuyu looked at Zhang Sun with a smile that wasn't a smile and asked again, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." "That's good. Beat him." Chapter 403. They were dumbfounded. Li Chengqian waved his hand as he looked at the imperial guards rolling up their sleeves. "Wait, all of you stop for this prince and get out." The few chamberlains of imperial insignia were also stunned. They looked at each other and walked out of the study. They even closed the door on the way out. Those who could become imperial guards were not Lao Bai. On their first day of work, there would be elders telling them the rules of the palace. Even when they returned home, there would be people instilling things to pay attention to. How could they not know the relationship between these four people? That was why they turned and left without waiting for Wei Shuyu to speak. They could not afford to offend a crown prince, and the other few were the sons of state dukes. Although Wei Shuyu was the captain and was following the emperor's orders, the emperor's order was to inform the three of them to kneel. If they were to be beaten up, wouldn't they be skinned alive if they were to find out? After the few of them left, Li Chengqian asked anxiously, "Shuyu, my good brother, tell me what happened to Ah Wan." "It's nothing. The emperor asked me to send a message for the three of you to kneel outside the imperial study." "Then what the F***ck did you mean just now? You still want to beat up Lao Tzu, right? Do you want to spar now?" Cheng Chumo's face darkened when he heard this. He clenched his fists so tightly that they cracked. Li Chengqian waved his hand and said, "Tell me first, why is father angry?" "I don't know." The emperor's face was so gloomy when he left the tavern. Moreover, Feng Zi didn't come out this time, which was rare. When they were drinking, the two of them went to the backyard and stayed there for 2 hours. No one knows what they said, but I feel that the three of you are in trouble this time. Li Chengqian and Zhang Sun looked at Cheng Chumo when they heard this. "Tai Niu, tell me honestly, did you break Feng Zi's treasure?" "No. I really didn't." Cheng Chumo waved his hand. "If you didn't, why is the emperor angry? And he even specifically asked the three of you to go to the imperial study?" Du Go looked at the three of them with a smile and said faintly, "Yesterday, you all said that you got Zhang Feng drunk and then went to Swallow Descent restaurant. Now that such a thing has happened, it means that you all must have done something shameful, causing the emperor to lose face in front of Feng Zi." "Look, you can eat whatever you want," this Cheng Chumo exploded. He hurriedly tried to cover Du Go's mouth. As for Li Chengqian and Zhang Sun, how could they not understand what was going on? Their expressions changed instantly. "Iron Bull, Lao Tzu treats you like a brother. How dare you trick Lao Tzu?" F***ck, believe it or not, Lao Tzu will beat you up first. Men, drag Xianxia out and beat him up for this prince. Li Xianxia was furious. However, at this moment, a golden guard shouted from outside the door, "Crown Prince, sirs, the emperor has returned to the palace. You all should go to the imperial study and wait for the decree. Otherwise, when the time comes, you all will." When they heard this, they were all shocked. "He's back. Let's go." The emperor probably won't say anything. At most, he'll just scold you all. Wei Shuyu kindly reminded them. When Li Qingqian and Zhang Sun heard this, their hearts also moved. That's right, the one who rode the bike in the end was Xianxia. Moreover, this bastard had been trying to hide it. Since he wanted to hide it, then let him bear it alone. Moreover, wasn't it just riding Feng Zi's bike? What's the big deal? At most, they'll just be scolded. Alright, let's go. When Li Qingqian thought of this, his heart calmed down. But Xianxia was sullen as he followed the others, slowly walking forward. Others might not know, but how could he not know? This time, he had played a big game. The bike was scrapped. How could it be easy when the emperor was angry? When the time came, a beating would be a light punishment. When they returned home, that would be the beginning of the nightmare. Xianxia cried. He wished he could slap himself a few times. In order to show off, now, they all had their own ulterior motives and casually followed Wei Shuyu to the door of the imperial study. The three of them looked at each other and confirmed that the emperor had not returned yet. Only then did they heave a deep sigh of relief and kneel down. However, when they knelt down, Wei Shuyu waved her hand and tied the three of them up with a rope. "Wei Shuyu, you dare to tie this crown prince up? Wei Shuyu, you're crazy. Let go. Everyone, don't blame me. You'll know in a while. I'm doing this for your own good." As he spoke, he viciously stepped on Xianxia's hands that were behind his back. He fiercely pulled on the rope, causing Xianxia to howl in pain. "Brother, don't blame me. You'll have to thank me later. This time, you've really played a big game. You don't know how scary the emperor was at that time. I've never seen the emperor so angry before." When Li Qingqian heard this, he became anxious. Even Du Go, who followed the four of them, had a serious expression. The few of them angrily shouted, "Xianxia, what the hell did you do yesterday? If you don't say it, Lao Tzu won't let you off." Xianxia was terrified. "I accidentally scrapped the bike." Chapter 404. Li Shimin was finally angry. Today, he also saw the beauty of this tricycle at Zhang Feng's place. What was this? This was a sharp weapon for the border defense. Once this thing was present, it would be used to defend the border, as well as all the logistical support. It would even play a role in a military confrontation. But what were these brats doing? Such a precious thing. In just a short while it was scrapped? No wonder Zhang Feng's brother was angry. Now that he heard it, Li Shimin was so angry that he wanted to beat them up personally. Before entering the imperial study, Li Shimin waved his hand and said, "Come, give me 30 strokes of the cane. If anyone dares to go easy on me, then he can wait for me." In the end, Li Shimin looked deeply at Wei Shuyu, causing her to tremble. She hurriedly accepted the order and left with the three unlucky fellows. In the imperial study, Empress Zhang Sun was already waiting there. She had heard everything that happened outside the imperial study. Originally, she wanted to plead for leniency, but when Xianxia said those words, Empress Zhang Sun was also angry. Li Shimin looked at Zhang Sun Wugo and sighed slightly. Zhang Sun Wugo pursed her lips and smiled. "Second brother, what is this? Where did Zhang Feng's brother suffer? How is this suffering a Guanyin maid you don't know? This time, if it weren't for these three brats, I would have brought that tricycle into the palace." "Isn't it just a tricycle? Is there a need to be so angry? Be careful not to hurt your body." Li Shimin gently held Zhang Sun Wugo's waist and said, "I'm not angry, but you should know that this tricycle will completely change the difficulty of our military's transportation as well as the transportation of all the caravan's goods. I even faintly felt that this thing seems to have other uses from Brother Zhang Feng's words. Although he didn't say it, I can also feel it. There was really no need to think about this." Thinking about what Zhang Feng had done before, one could understand that Zhang Feng was the king of scheming. Every time he did something, it would definitely cause a chain reaction. Just like the trap he set for Tubo and the other countries, who would have thought of that? Even if Zhuge Kongming was still alive, he probably wouldn't have thought of this. As he thought about it, Zhang Sun Wugo's expression gradually turned grave. Second brother, how are you going to deal with the matter of Swallow Descent Tower? Especially Jingshu. In the past few days, this concubine has received many indirect inquiries from the Wangfei, saying that they want to use your decree to betroth Jingshu to those Wangya. I don't care about this matter. Just tell them anyone can do it. However, I have already reserved Jingshu for brother Zhang Feng. Could it be that you want me to be the one to betray you? And now in Chang'an City, who doesn't know that Jingshu's zither has been broken? Don't tell me they don't know? You're even trying to plot against me. Li Shimin was a little angry. Zhang Sun Wugo sighed. How could this concubine not know? That's why I've already refused. This is just a small matter, don't be angry about it. There are 2 more days until the Dragon Boat Festival. This year, this concubine intends to hold a separate banquet to ease the relationship between you and father. What do you think? Li Shimin was shocked. The Dragon Boat Festival is already here? Zhang Suan's slender hand tapped Li Shimin's forehead. How could you forget such a thing? There are 2 more days until the Dragon Boat Festival. The banquet this concubine has prepared will be held tomorrow. The preparations are almost done. I didn't say anything before when I saw that you were busy. Now that everything is settled, and the locust plague is basically stabilized, I'm telling you today. If you don't want to, then I won't inform the retired emperor. Don't, then, let's do as you say. Li Shimin was silent for a while, but still agreed. Although the relationship between them had indeed eased a little during the birthday, and the old master was now living a comfortable life with the bone-strengthening powder, he was still his father after all. If the relationship between the 2 sides could be pulled closer, then the voices of opposition in the court would be much smaller. Thinking of this, Li Shimin didn't think too much about it. Instead, he was looking forward to it. It had been a long time since he had a good meal with Li Yuan. Moreover, it was a meal that only the 2 of them, father and son, ate together. Thinking of this, Li Shimin hurriedly said, "Don't we still have brother Zhang Feng's wine? When the time comes, we'll drink that. Munimo also wants it, right?" Zhang Sun Wugo smiled lightly. This was the first time she saw Li Shimin care so much about a meal. Basically, Li Shimin had prepared a portion of everything that the retired emperor liked to eat. In the end, Li Shimin stroked his chin and sighed. Damn it, how could I forget where brother Zhang Feng's delicacies are? All the dishes this year have been removed. When the time comes, we'll send that kid Wei Shuyu to brother Zhang Feng's place. Even if I have to beg, I'll make that kid prepare a table of decent dishes for us. Zhang Sun was speechless. Why does this concubine feel that second brother is now talking about brother Zhang Feng every time you open your mouth? Could it be that brother Zhang Feng's dishes are better than the imperial chefs in the palace? Li Shimin looked meaningfully at Zhang Sun and said, "Guanyin maid, you'll know when the time comes." Chapter 405. In the tavern, Zhang Feng played with the 2 black-colored glass pieces that Guzi had taken from the river. Finally, he placed the 2 pieces of glass on his eyes. In an instant, the glaring sunlight became as docile as a sheep. However, Zhang Feng looked at the blurry mirror and threw it to the corner of the wall in dissatisfaction. This thing was good, but it had been worn out by the sand and stones. It was useless. Brother Feng. Brother Feng. Brother Feng. At this moment, Guzi and Zhu Zi, who were dripping wet, ran over from afar. When they saw Zhang Feng, who was lying on the deck chair at the entrance of the tavern, they were so excited that they jumped up and down. They held up several colorful glass pieces in their hands. "Brother Feng, we just picked these up from the barbarian merchants in Shi City. Take a look and see if these glass pieces are useful." Zhang Feng was interested. He threw the fan in his hand to Guzi. Guzi started fanning himself. At the same time, Zhang Feng was also carefully playing with the glass pieces one by one. This thing, to put it bluntly, was glass. It was just called differently in the Tang dynasty. Because the craftsmanship was too rough, the glass was basically filled with bubbles. Although it looked harmless after being made into handicrafts, Zhang Feng was not satisfied. He took 2 pieces of glass that were either burnt or covered with black dye and covered his eyes again. This was the last piece that looked decent. It was only the size of a palm, but it was enough to make sunglasses. Not bad, this thing works. Zhang Feng put the glass pieces in his pocket with satisfaction. Then, he took out a string of money and threw it to the 2. If you 2 don't go catch grasshoppers, won't your parents beat you? Hearing this, the 2 shook their heads like a rattle drum. They won't. My father said that Brother Feng is going to be a big official in the future. He's going to be our teacher. Even if Brother Feng wants me to steal a bird's nest or catch a snake, I will do it. Zhang Feng was a little speechless. This Zhu Zi's father was really... He dared to say anything? Tell your father that he can't speak carelessly about such things. Save it, save it. Dad said that there's something wrong with Brother Feng. He doesn't want to be famous. As he spoke, Zhu Zi pointed at his head. Zhang Feng was so angry that he took off his shoes and hit him. After playing around for a while, Zhang Feng was so hot that he lay back down on the recliner. He looked at the barren crooked tree and mumbled to himself before entering the tavern. As for the 2 fellows who had just received the money, they had already run off to buy snacks. Zhang Feng was too lazy to care about them. Besides, he couldn't do anything about it even if he wanted to, so he simply stopped asking. Instead, he was thinking about how to make sunglasses. Suddenly, Zhang Feng seemed to have thought of something. Fan Tang hurried to the door and picked up a few useless pieces of colored glass. From the counter, he took out the 2 natural pink diamonds he had bought from the Hu merchants. This thing was a treasure. Although this thing was not valued in this world, its rarity was not inferior to any kind of gemstone. More importantly, this thing was a diamond. Cutting glass was as easy as cutting tofu. Zhang Feng tried 3 times and finally cut out a lens of the shape he wanted from a piece of emerald-colored glass. Looking at the lens, Zhang Feng grinned. This was the first prototype of Lao Tzu's sunglasses from the Tang dynasty. As he thought about it, Zhang Feng suddenly felt sad. Unconsciously, tears welled up in the corners of his eyes. I say, Feng, if you want colored glass, just tell me. Even if I give it to a Hu merchant who knows how to make colored glass, it won't be a problem. You're crying just from looking at colored glass? At this moment, Wei Shuyu's surprised voice rang out from behind Zhang Feng. Only then did Zhang Feng come to his senses. He rubbed his eyes and mumbled, "A bug blew into my eyes. Why is Lao Tzu crying?" Wei Shuyu had a strange expression. However, she did not fight with Zhang Feng for anything. She said directly, "All right, I'm here today for serious business. Isn't it the Dragon Boat Festival?" Lao Li was thinking of preparing a table of good dishes for his father. That's why he sent me here to take a look and ask you to prepare a table of good dishes. That's it? Zhang Feng pointed at his nose in confusion. What do you think I, Zhang Feng, am? Everyone deserves to eat Lao Tzu's dishes. I won't do it. Get lost. A table of dishes? You just blurted it out as soon as you opened your mouth. Why don't you think about how tiring it would be on such a hot day? Sighed. Lao Li was still wondering if he should give you a set of prefaces to the orchid pavilion that he collected. Now it seems... What did you say? Zhang Feng interrupted Wei Shuyu in disbelief. His heart almost jumped out of his chest. A set of prefaces to the orchid pavilion. What the hell? Apart from the palace, there were also such things among the commoners. Could it be that these things had become cabbages during the Tang dynasty? Didn't this mean that only the emperor of the dynasty had such treasures? And it was Li Shimin's most cherished item? Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. Yes, it's prefaces to the orchid pavilion. Do you want it? If you want it this meal. Yes. When do you want it? Lao Tzu can prepare it now, right? But let's say this first. Lao Tzu can't make these green things even if he wanted to. But let's say this first. If you don't have the prefaces to the Orchid Pavilion, you're in big trouble. Chapter 406. The Preface to the Orchid Pavilion. If it's real, then it's a treasure that can't even be bought with money. I didn't have the right to see the real thing in my previous life, and I'm still wondering when I'll be lucky enough to see it in the palace. Good Lord, this Lao Li actually kept a set for himself. This Lao Li is really, he's so secretive. But from now on, I'll have to dig into Lao Li. This guy is AF * King Rich Man. Oh right, Fengzi, we're going to spend the night of the Dragon Boat Festival with you, okay? Get lost. What treasure do you want from me now? Let me tell you, there's no way. Zhang Feng instinctively put the glass piece and diamond in front of his chest. These 2 thumb-sized diamonds were for the person he liked in the future. At this time, he didn't dare to let these guys steal them. They're so big. Not to mention now, even in the future, they'll be worth hundreds of millions. As long as he kept them well, they'll be passed down as family heirlooms. How could he let these idiots be greedy for him? Wei Shuyu felt a little disappointed and couldn't help but feel sorry for Zhang Feng. What kind of situation had he become after being cheated by those guys? Wei Shuyu couldn't help but sigh. Brother, you don't know. Do you know that Tai Niu and the others were beaten up miserably when old Li went over today? They can't even get out of bed for the next half a month. Really? You're not lying to me? Zhang Feng was stunned for a moment. Why would I lie to you? But can you stop calling me Idiot Wei in the future? How am I an idiot? Can you call me by my name? Okay, idiot. Wei Shuyu left. When Zhang Feng saw that there was no one around, he closed the door and squatted in the backyard. He lit up the crucible and broke off a piece of a brass horse spoon that had been scrapped in the shop. He threw it into the crucible and started to prepare the tools. If one said that the sunglasses were easy to make, then it was. If one said that it wasn't easy, then it really wasn't easy at all. He squatted on the ground. Zhang Feng used charcoal to draw several frames of sunglasses on the ground, but in the end, he rejected them one by one. In the end, Zhang Feng couldn't help but think of the foldable reading glasses from the Republic of China. Lao Tzu used 2 groove-shaped copper troughs to fix it in place with sheep tendons, and then poured the copper juice over it. Thinking of this, Zhang Feng couldn't help but thank the TV series that had become a little fuzzy in his memory. Once this thing was manufactured, it would be a treasure that could sweep the entire world. When he thought about how the sunglasses would have a wider market than table salt and tricycles, Zhang Feng almost didn't want to become an official in the imperial court. Instead, he wanted to be a real businessman. This thing, once it was fully displayed, the market would be huge. Why didn't I think of this earlier? On such a hot day, if everyone had a pair of sunglasses, how would they moisturize themselves? Waving a fan and wearing a pair of sunglasses, it was simply too cool. As he thought about it, Zhang Feng chuckled. But after a while, when he poured the copper juice into the grinding tool, he couldn't laugh anymore. Because no matter how he did it, in the end, the thing he grinded out would become AF * King unbearable to look at. There was no possibility of repairing it. Again. F * CK your mother. In the end, Zhang Feng kicked over the crucible. He wasn't a patient person, let alone such meticulous work. After 5 times in a row, Zhang Feng was dismayed to find that he wasn't cut out for this line of work. Don't talk about making a fortune or sweeping the entire world. Damn, he couldn't even make a frame, let alone a hammer. When he left the tavern, he didn't know when Old He had been pacing around outside the shop for a long time, and his face was full of worry. Zhang Feng didn't notice Old He's expression but asked, Old He? You came at the right time. Let me ask you, do you know where to find an experienced locksmith in Chang and City? Old He was confused. Originally, he had something important to do today, but when he saw Zhang Feng in such a hurry, even his face and body were covered in black paint, he thought that Zhang Feng had encountered something big. He hurriedly said, I know a locksmith, but he's a little old. He does meticulous work, and now he mainly helps people to open locks for a living. Well, it's him. Zhang Feng excitedly pulled Old He into the tavern, took out a banknote worth 10 taels of silver, and gave it to Old He. Then he hurriedly drew something that Old He couldn't understand on the paper, and added a lot of words. Old He, this is what this thing looks like. If he is literate, he will be able to understand this thing. If he is illiterate, you can ask the old scholar to go with you. As long as this thing is done, I will treat you to some good wine. Too much money. Although Old He couldn't understand the words on the banknote, he heard that it was only the size of 2 fingers. It was black, red, and palm-sized. That was 10 taels of silver. So much money just for this? Not much, not much. I'll just take it as buying clothes for Mantu. Hurry up, I'm in a hurry. Old he saw this, gritted his teeth and left. I'll go now. Chapter 407. In the past 2 days, the locusts in Chang and city were wiped out in an instant. The people of Chang and city were all in high spirits. Even the old man who was over 70 years old was squatting under the tree with his walking stick, looking for locusts with wide eyes. The locusts were a treasure at this time. Originally, everyone thought that this thing was just a pest. Who would have thought that in this half a month, not only did this thing not cause them any losses, but they also made a final calculation. Good heavens, this thing earned them more than what they usually earned in a year. And this was a cost-free business. Now, the people in Chang and city were rich, and their waists were straightened a lot. Even the meat stalls that few people cared about before were surrounded by people picking with their hands behind their backs. That was nothing. The most terrifying thing was the restaurants and tea houses. Good heavens! The Dragon Boat Festival made everyone have an illusion that it was much livelier than the New Year in previous years. All the stalls on the street were crowded with people buying things. This time, as long as the merchants saw the newcomer, it was as if they had seen their ancestor, and they all laughed heartily. In this lively atmosphere, everyone suddenly felt that this was not a calamity from the heavens. This was simply a stroke of good fortune from the heavens. Now, those who spread the word that the locusts were pests did not dare to go out. Once they went out, they were afraid that today would be the last time they saw the sun. In the palace, it was also very lively at this time. All the palaces were hung with lanterns. Even the little eunuchs and palace maids were smiling so widely that their teeth could not be seen. Not for anything else, but because the plague of locusts had been stopped, the emperor was happy. After the worship ceremony, hundreds of officials and even everyone in the palace were rewarded by the emperor with a banquet of 10 taels of silver. 10 taels of silver, that was their annual salary. Just because the emperor was happy, everyone received a reward. Who wouldn't be happy? At this time, Taiji Palace. In Li Shimin's bedroom. But it was a little lonely. In the enormous palace, there was only Li Shimin and Li Yuan, 2 people. And at this time, Li Yuan somewhat lost his composure. Looking at the table full of things that she had never seen before, she didn't even use chopsticks. She used her hands to grab a little from this plate, a little from that plate. What dish is this? This is called fish with pickled cabbage. What about this? Salted duck in soy sauce. Then this, I know this is a pig trotter, but what is this? Soft and sticky? Li Yuan was like a curious baby, pointing at the exquisite dishes on the plate, or the dishes that looked incomparably crude. The dishes were good dishes, and it could be seen from Li Yuan's mouth and face that he was full of them. Li Yuan ate to his heart's content. He ate while drinking to his heart's content. Li Shimin was also in a particularly good mood. He introduced it to Li Yuan over and over again, and at the same time he was busy pouring wine for Li Yuan. At this time, the palace maid standing at the door secretly glanced at the scene inside and was instantly stunned. Was this the normally dignified emperor? Shouldn't the emperor be high and mighty? What was going on? But in Li Shimin's view, this was what he should do. Over the years, the conflict between him and his father was too deep. They had just reconciled, and he didn't want this conflict to deepen. After all, he was also going to be old. And now, he was already old. Even though he gave Li Yuan everything within his power that could make his imperial father happy, he could also see that Li Yuan still had people in the imperial court. Moreover, he often paid attention to the matters of the imperial court. They were also paying attention to him. After 3 rounds of wine, Li Yuan touched his belly and drank the lotus seed soup. These dishes were all made by that Zhang Feng boy? Replying to father, Then the wine last time was also his? Then, why don't you let him enter the imperial court? It's really a waste not to keep such a talent by your side as an imperial chef. Li Shimin pursed his lips and didn't say anything. Don't tell me that the fine salt and the cooperative as well as the plan for Zhenla and Tubo, these were all made by him? Imperial father, It was really his idea to cut them all together? Li Shimin thought that Li Yuan was going to be furious, but he was wrong. Li Yuan was just silent for a moment and said with a sigh, "Oh, Shimin, you've encountered a rare and virtuous talent. Originally, I thought that these things were definitely not what Feng Xianling and the others could come up with, and it was even more impossible for that old faker Yuan Tiangang to come up with the idea. I didn't expect that it was really made by that god." He, Li Yuan, was clear about everything that happened in the palace. Not to mention the people around him, just take Zhang Xuan's daily greetings as an example, he would tell him some things, especially the matter of Li Shimin leaving the palace. At first, he was still very angry, thinking that Li Shimin was not doing his job properly. But as the matters were dealt with one after another, now not only could he easily control the terrifying locust plague, but he could also use Zhenla to tie up the restless guys around him during this period of time. Just this point made Li Yuan have no choice but to prostrate himself in admiration. This person was not the reincarnation of Zhuge. He must be the emperor star that the imperial astronomer said had descended to the mortal world. Li Shimin also didn't hide anything. He told Li Yuan about Zhang Feng's matter from beginning to end. Finally, when Li Yuan heard that Zhang Feng had actually bestowed Li Shimin a treasure of calligraphy that had been handed down for generations, he couldn't help but be interested. "Let's go, follow me to see that treasure of calligraphy." Chapter 408. Imperial Study. Li Yuan looked at the familiar scene. His hands trembled slightly as he wiped the missing piece on the dragon throne. That dragon throne left him with too much reluctance to part with it. And Li Shimin did not say anything. Pointing to the calligraphy on top of the dragon throne, he said, "Father Emperor, this is the calligraphy that Brother Zhang Feng wrote for generations." "Let me see." However, when Li Yuan saw that word, he could not help but curl his lips. "This word is also too ordinary, right? Just this." Li Shimin smiled faintly. "Indeed, Brother Zhang Feng's handwriting is indeed not good. It can even be said to be mediocre. But Father Emperor, take a look at the meaning in this word again." "Let me see. A person who can make my son treasure him so much, and can also do so many things that have never been done before and will never be done in the future, this is indeed not an ordinary person." While talking, Li Yuan looked at it again. However, in the next moment, Li Yuan's expression could not help but become speechless. "A bit interesting. Let people be virtuous, know how to use people well. Open a path for speech, accept admonition, put people first, deduct lightly, reward the good, manage the family diligently, know when to advance and retreat, good system." Li Yuan was dumbfounded. Although there was nothing on the surface, in his heart, it was already like stormy waves. What was all this? This paragraph, from the literal meaning, as well as the meaning within, could be called something that was hard to come by. Even the current great writers, and even those great scholars, could not say such words. However, did it really come from the mouth of a 20-year-old youth? Involuntarily, Li Yuan's expression became solemn. From the various things during this period of time, this Zhang Feng was a talent who did not understand many things. "Shimin, are you sure that Zhang Feng is really only 20 years old? From various signs, as well as his temperament, he is indeed 20 years old. However, when this son once asked him, he once boasted that he was several thousand years old." This little fellow. Li Yuan was amused. He really had never seen such an interesting person. Was this because he was old? Li Yuan heaved a heavy sigh. "How long has it been since I went to Chang'an? 2 years? Or even longer? I didn't expect that our Tang dynasty would have such an amazing person. Not only that, but he is also good at military affairs and governance. He is also good at brewing wine and food. By the way, even if Sun Simiao were to make the bone-strengthening powder, he might not be able to make it. Talent. This is God's blessing for the Tang dynasty." Although Li Yuan was praising Zhang Feng, Li Shimin felt bursts of anticipation from his heart. He was still worried that his father would fly into a rage if he found out about Zhang Feng's matter. But now, it seemed that the Zhang Feng brothers really had some kind of magical power. Li Shimin was not stupid. It wasn't that he couldn't think of anything. It was because anything could become extremely simple and easy in the hands of Zhang Feng. This was something that no one else could do. It was precisely because of this magical power that Li Shimin wanted to go to the tavern all the time. Even if it was not for business and just to chat, it would make his already irritable heart happy in an instant. By the way, Shimin, today is the Dragon Boat Festival, right? I heard from Chengqian that Zhang Feng is now an orphan. Today, let's go. Now that we have nothing to do, take me to see Zhang Feng. I also want to see this little guy. This amazing little guy. I want to know whether he is really capable or has a master behind him. Hui Tong Feng. There is an old acquaintance of mine there. He used to be a great figure in the previous dynasty. He thought that I wouldn't know if he hid in Chang. When Li Shimin heard that, the old scholar's appearance flashed in his mind. Father, which old scholar are you talking about who is close to Zhang Feng? Li Yuan nodded. A touch of nostalgia flashed in his eyes. But the next moment, Li Yuan hurriedly asked, when you went out, didn't you meet that guy? And he didn't recognize you? Li Shimin thought for a while and shook his head, saying, no. Every time I go out of the palace, I dress up a little. Unless they see me every day, no one will notice. Hearing that, Li Yuan breathed a deep sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. When Li Yuan heard that the old scholar and Zhang Feng had drawn numbers, he really had a trace of killing intent. But when Li Shimin confirmed that the old scholar did not recognize him, he was slightly relieved. At that time, even so, Li Yuan was still not at ease. He wanted to see for himself whether this Zhang Feng knew Li Shimin's identity or not. If he did not know, then such a strange person must be cherished. If he knew and pretended not to know, then there must be a good discussion. Let's go, change my clothes. I will personally meet this little guy and also take a look at an old friend. While speaking, Li Yuan once again glanced at the words on the wall. The corners of his mouth twitched as he said, tomorrow, find someone to make another copy. These words are too ugly. It's a disgrace to my imperial family's dignity. Chapter 409. In front of the tavern. Zhang Feng was bored out of his mind. He was playing a paper fan game with Guzi, Zhu Zi, and the others. But just as he was aiming at the two red pieces of paper, suddenly, someone squatted right in front of him. Looking at it, it seemed to be something. How could Zhang Feng tolerate it? He was instantly enraged. Who are you? Can't you see that I'm playing with paper? The person squatting in front of him was an old man whose hair was basically all white. If it weren't for the hairpin, he would have been bald. He was wearing a purple robe and looked a little sloppy, like a street wanderer. But there was a trace of dignity between his eyebrows. This person was Li Yuan. Zhang Feng was sure that he had never seen such a person in Chang and city for so long. He couldn't help but be stunned. Looking at the door of the tavern behind Li Yuan and seeing Li Yuan staring at him with interest, Zhang Feng couldn't help but ask, Sir, who are you? If you have nothing to do, go to the side. Don't disturb my mood. Then, if I disturb you, what are you going to do? Hey! I say, you old man, why are you so blind? Brother Zhang Feng. At this moment, Li Shimin, who was behind Zhang Feng, couldn't stand it anymore. These two were both weirdos. One liked to play, and the other liked to play even more. If they met, who knew what would happen? And with the retired emperor's temper, if he did something bad in a fit of anger, he wouldn't be able to take charge. Only then did he hurriedly speak. Hearing that, Zhang Feng couldn't help but turn around and sit on the ground. He looked at Li Shimin and clicked his tongue. I say, Lao Li, why don't you make any sound when you walk? Also, you brats, can't you see that he's here? Who's this? This is Lao Li, our distinguished guest. Can't you see him? Guzi and the others sniffed. He looked at Zhang Feng innocently. Big brother Feng Zi, we were just playing with paper earlier. I thought they were just passing by, so I didn't think much of it. All right. Zhang Feng got up and did not even glance at Li Yuan. Patting the dust off her hands, she hooked her arm around Li Shimin's neck and walked into my room. Let's go. You haven't been around for a few days. We're so bored that we can't even play with the kids. You came at the right time today. I have something to tell you. But Li Shimin couldn't leave. His father was still squatting. he hurriedly said, "Brother Zhang Feng, let me introduce you." While speaking, Li Shimin hastily helped up Li Yuan, who looked at Zhang Feng with a smile that was not a smile, and said, "This is my father, the one I mentioned to you before, F*C, it's uncle." "My apologies." "Ah, that, uncle, let's go. Don't bask in the sun here. Let's go in and talk." "Scram, scram, you bunch of brats. Go to the river and catch some dishes for us. There will be rewards when you come back." Hearing that, Guzi and the others scampered off as if they had received an imperial edict. Only then did Zhang Feng resolve the awkwardness. Letting go of Li Shimin, he respectfully made an inviting gesture and let Li Yuan enter the pub. Li Yuan did not find it strange. Instead, after entering the door, he looked here and there as if he was inspecting his own property. Zhang Feng did not mind. After all, he was an elder. And since Lao Li could bring his father here, it meant that what happened before, this Lao Li was a good brother and told his father everything. Then what could Zhang Feng do? Of course, he would greet him with good wine and good food. There was still some leftover smoked tiger meat from before. He believed that this bone-strengthening powder, this Lao Li and Lao Tzu would definitely eat it every day. He did not make that thing anymore. Instead, he made a plate of deep-fried crabs, a plate of deep-fried salt and pepper grasshoppers, and some braised meat. Together with a big pot of mutton, everything was complete. And when Zhang Feng finished preparing all of those dishes and then took them out, Li Yuan actually looked at the words on the wall and started to comment on them. "Little brother, these words were written by you?" "Yes." "Men, come, try my cooking. It's not that I, Zhang Feng, want to brag, but this thing, outside of our pub, you can't eat it even if you want to. Hee, good. Your cooking, we've all tasted it today. It's really not bad. Even better than that mutton. Cough, Dad, come and try this pub. Look at the wine on the wine cabinet. Every one of them has a different taste. Even the degree of spiciness and sweetness are different." When Li Shimin heard what Li Yuan blurted out, he hastily stopped Li Yuan and personally poured wine for the two of them. Then he sat down and fiercely winked at Li Yuan. Zhang Feng was somewhat baffled, but he did not think much about it. Instead, he introduced it with some pride. "Oh man, Lao Li is right. This wine is called wine. It's much better than the wine from the western regions. Come, try it. We had enough wine and meat last night." Good. I was worried that this wine would not be enough. But looking at your wine, I don't know, little brother, where did you get this wine? I think I've drunk all the good wine in the world. But only this wine, this old man, is drinking it for the first time. This wine is even better than the imperial wine in the palace. Could it be that this is the legendary god's nectar? Chapter 410. Zhang Feng's wine was indeed very good. Ever since that birthday, Li Yuan was no longer interested in any wine in the palace. It was not that his mouth was picky. It was that when he drank, he thought of the wine at the birthday. That strong taste. Like swallowing a knife. But this was wine. In comparison, that Turkic fire roast, Tubo's horse milk wine, this F*King smelled the same as that rancid fermented glutinous rice wine. Smelling it made one want to vomit, let alone drinking it. "Ha, old man, you really know how to joke." Zhang Feng laughed and banged the wine bowl with Li Yuan. Half a bowl was gone in an instant. Zhang Feng put down the wine bowl, pointed to the wine cabinet, and introduced it pretentiously. "If you say that this wine is God's nectar, it's not an exaggeration. This thing originally belonged to us Han people. It's just because of the traditional concept of passing it to males and not females, leaving half of it to the disciples. This was originally a very good thing, but in the end, what the F*** is left. Let me give you an example. You see, if this old man made a good thing but once it was passed to the third generation, that thing, can it still be called the original thing? Its F*** changed its taste long ago." Li Yuan glanced at Li Shimin and could not help but nod. "You're right. Everyone has their own selfish motives. Moreover, they have their own motives. Who can be completely untainted? Just like what you said in this poem, everyone is that mortal, who can do that immortal thing. If that's the case, then wouldn't the world be in chaos? However, speaking of this poem of yours, Old man really admires it. Li Yuan was really stunned by what Zhang Feng said. Indeed, it was as he said. If everyone had passed down all the good things, what would happen now? Just like that wooden ox and horse. Who else could completely restore it now? If it could be completely restored, then what would happen to the current battlefield? This was the problem of human nature. But this topic was too sensitive, so Li Yuan tactfully avoided it. That matter was a pain in his heart, so he was unwilling to mention it. Upon hearing the poem, Zhang Feng's eyes lit up. In addition to the effect of alcohol, Zhang Feng was basically floating in the air now. At this time, Li Shimin played the role of a listener. It was not that he could not get a word in edgewise, but he understood Li Yuan's current situation. It was not good for him to interrupt the conversation between the two at this moment. If Imperial Father and Zhang Feng got to know each other, would there still be a gap between father and son through the relationship between Zhang Feng? And now, when he heard this thing, his expression became somewhat unnatural. Seeing that Li Yuan didn't say anything and instead avoided the topic, he heaved a deep sigh of relief. Father, Brother Zhang Feng is an incredible talent. Do you know that Miss Jingshu from Swallow Descent Restaurant? Upon hearing Jingshu, Li Yuan's eyes lit up. He had even forgotten that he had once appreciated Jingshu's performance a few times. At that time, he and Li Shimin were like fire and water. He originally wanted to summon Jingshu into the palace, but he couldn't bring himself to do so. In the end, after this conflict was resolved, he also forgot about this matter. Now that Li Shimin mentioned it, he couldn't help but ask, Miss Jingshu's music is indeed blessed by the heavens. Why are you mentioning her now? Let her come to my place another day. No, father, let me finish first. How could he not know Li Yuan's plan? Hearing that, he hurriedly explained, Lord Father may not know, but do you still remember Miss Jingshu's zither music? I remember? What does that have to do with anything? That has a lot to do with it. Zhang Feng patted his chest and said, Old Master is also a sentimental person. You don't know, Miss Jingshu has mastered a zither music that has long been lost. It's called Huga 18 Beats. It was composed by that Kai Wenji. And this kid is untalented, but he finally cracked it for us. Hearing that, a hint of disbelief flashed across Li Yuan's eyes. He hurriedly asked, You mean you cracked that zither music? That's to say, that Miss Jingshu is now your concubine? Hearing that, Zhang Feng's smile couldn't help but stiffen. He originally wanted to brag, but now, as he bragged about himself? He couldn't help but rub his nose in embarrassment. That old master, let's drink. Ha! Brother Zhang Feng actually has a time when he's embarrassed? Li Shimin laughed. Kiddies. Father, let me tell you about the interesting things. Lao Li, if you're a brother, shut up for me. If you dare to say it, we won't be brothers in the future. Zhang Feng was anxious. It was better not to let the elders know about this kind of thing. If he knew about it, where would he put his old face? Although it looked like Zhang Feng was only 20 years old now, adding up the 2 lives, he was already in his 40s. Seeing this, Li Shimin and Li Yuan looked at each other. Then, suddenly, a burst of hearty laughter erupted. Ah, the little guy is actually shy? I heard that the daughter of the Zhang family's pastry shop is your legal wife. This is a good thing. Good things come in pairs, ha! Not bad, young and promising. Chapter 411. Zhang Feng had long been hit so hard that he rolled his eyes fiercely. But regarding this matter, he really did not have a shred of a way. Old master, can we not touch the pot that doesn't boil? I'm going to freaking die from this matter. You don't know, my neighbors, especially that old scholar, you don't know. That mother asterisk cur is my matter, but he's so anxious that it's like he's going to get married. You tell me, what kind of matter is this? This is a big matter of marriage, at least get to know the girl first, meet her or something, right? I don't know anything about this. I don't even know who's tall, short, fat, or thin. How can I dare to agree? What if when the time comes and the red veil is lifted, revealing a big flat face that weighs a few hundred pounds, what should I do? I, Zhang Feng, am a person who will mix in the imperial court in the future. Can I marry such a person? Zhang Feng's words once again caused Li Yuan to laugh out loud. Then do you want old man to personally come and check for you? All right, this matter. Don't worry about it, I'll do it myself. Let's drink and drink, we'll talk about future matters in the future. Anyway, this marriage has to wait until I enter. That's true. Li Yuan nodded. A man has to first establish his career, then get married. This way there's also a guarantee. Right? If you really want to enter the imperial court, if old man has some relations and connections, do you want to? All right, the time is not right, I don't want to enter the imperial court for the time being. Zhang Feng shook his head, directly rejecting Li Yuan's suggestion. At the very least, he had to wait until that Guanlong force was completely eradicated, then entering the imperial court would be a wise move. Entering now? That was nothing but courting death. Once they knew that all these things were caused by him, how could it be? His skin would be peeled off in minutes, not to mention his little life. Speaking of this matter, Zhang Feng had a toothache. He seriously suspected that this broken system of his, was it broken? Or had he completely forgotten about this matter? Now, he could only take one step at a time. Anyway, it was still early and he was only 20 years old. What was the hurry? Seeing that Zhang Feng didn't want to grind his teeth on this matter. Only then did Li Yuan bring the topic back to the 18 beats of Huga. I heard that the 18 beats of the Wuxia was the top palace music of the Han dynasty. However, with the passage of time and the change of dynasties, this thing has long been lost. That old man Jingshu also heard that she had learned it from an old palace made of the previous dynasty. I wonder how little brother Zhang Feng was able to break this song? With this question, Li Shimin's interest was piqued. I've heard about this from Qian. I even have the lyrics for your zither song. But I'm curious. Where did you get the zither song? Well, I'm handsome, so I made a wild guess, okay? Zhang Feng said weakly. Instantly, Li Yuan and Li Shimin, who had a curious look on their faces, rolled their eyes at the same time. If they believed it, then there was a ghost. However, Zhang Feng couldn't say that he was a transmigrator. Moreover, this thing was learned in the music optional class of the later generations. If he really said that, Zhang Feng would definitely be treated as a monster. This matter, damn it, couldn't be said at all. Zhang Feng saw the expressions of Li Shimin and Li Yuan. He touched his nose and said without blushing or panting, "This matter, in fact, is that I read an ancient book for you. I saw it in the ancient book." What about the ancient book? In my house. How about this, you sell this ancient book to me. How much money do you want? I'll give you, okay? Li Yuan excitedly grabbed Zhang Feng's hand and said. Li Shimin's face stiffened when he heard that. Father, his family died. The mountain flood broke out, and the whole family was gone. Li Shimin actually didn't want to say it, but he was afraid that Li Yuan's excitement would trigger Zhang Feng's sadness, so he interrupted. Although Zhang Feng didn't know who that unlucky guy was, since Li Shimin said so, he could only pinch his nose and accept it. This person had to have an identity to live for a lifetime. Zhang Feng lowered his head with a face full of sorrow. He rubbed his eyes with the pepper powder on his fingers. Instantly, under the stimulation of the spiciness, his eyes turned red. Drops of tears came out from the spiciness, like a broken thread. Old master, if it's possible, Zhang Feng would like to, but it's a whole family. My front foot just left and there's no more back foot. There's more than 100 people. I would like to. Li Yuan was also shocked when he saw the situation. He instantly panicked. That, little brother, old man doesn't have any other meaning. You have to restrain your grief. While talking, Li Yuan glared at Li Shimin and said, "Why didn't you tell me about this matter? You see, everything is fine. This is what to do. How about, if it really doesn't work, how about old man make the decision and build a grave for your family?" Hearing that, Zhang Feng leaned on the table and cried even louder. "Old master, I would like to, but that damn mountain flood, I don't even have a place to worship now." Chapter 412. Zhang Feng was crying so hard. Even his shoulders were twitching. But no one knew that he had already remembered his real family in his memory. He was not sensible before, but when he was a stranger in a foreign land, he could really feel the importance of family. No matter what he did now, it could not offset the loneliness he felt when he dreamed in the middle of the night. That kind of feeling was really too terrifying for him. The faces of his parents and relatives were basically a little blurred in the dream. If possible, he was willing to not go to school or work. Even if he was beaten to death, he would not go to school or work. Even if he was picking up garbage, he would accompany his parents. But now? Thinking of this, the corners of Zhang Feng's eyes were actually really wet. Under Li Shimin's persuasion, Zhang Feng stopped his voice at the right time. "Old master, I appreciate your kindness, but this matter is actually what God wants me to do, so why don't I go with the flow? So, this matter, I can only wait until I succeed, then I will have the face to go back to worship and go back to the ancestral house to take a look at the ruins. Alas! If your parents in the netherworld knew of your current achievements, how you were able to single-handedly exterminate the plague of locusts, how you were able to turn the great Tang's economy from a lifeless state to such a lively one, and what about the cooperatives, the fine salt, and the matters of Tibet and the other countries? If they know this, then they can also smile in the underworld. Which one of these is not an earth-shattering thing? Even which one of these things is not the thing that will go down in history? Sometimes I really admire you. You are a master of both literature and martial arts. Old master, you flatter me. This is just a blind study when I am bored. How can this be mentioned on the table?" Zhang Feng wiped the corner of his eyes and came to his senses. Seeing this, Li Yuan pointed to the wall. "Then this is also something you blindly studied?" Zhang Feng nodded, a little embarrassed. He borrowed Li Bai's poem, and now he was showing off. He silently mourned for Li Bai who had not yet been born. Moreover, he had secretly made up his mind. At that time, I'll have to find this young Li Bai. Although I've borrowed something from you, if I accept you as my disciple, then I'll be awesome. This is just a poem that I made when I was dreaming about my family. It's nothing much. Li Yuan's eyes were somewhat red. Give a toast, and don't stop drinking. If such a poem is nothing, then all the poets and literary magnates of my great Tang should go hang themselves. You brat. Do you know that once this thing is leaked out, your tavern's door will be trampled flat? You don't know how terrifying those great writers are. Let's drink. Everything is in the wine, okay? Zhang Feng didn't dare to say anything else. She was so embarrassed that she panicked. What kind of thing was this? Once that literary tycoon was involved, even he would choke. He was just a porter. How could he know how to compose a poem? He knew a little bit about doggerel, but what was that? Therefore, when he said that he was a dabbler and couldn't be brought to the table, it was also true. However, now Li Yuan didn't buy Li Shimin at all. Especially Li Shimin, now his face was as long as a donkey's face. What the f***ck? This was really infuriating to compare oneself to others. He loved calligraphy, and also loved this path. But why did it change in Zhang Feng's mouth? Li Shimin couldn't help but be unwilling. He wanted to see how high this brother Zhang Feng's attainments in poetry were. He slowly recited, "Last night, the wind filled the tower, flowers bloomed and fell to the attic." Brother Zhang Feng, what do you think of this poem of yours? Zhang Feng exclaimed softly in surprise. He sized up Li Shimin from head to toe and praised, "Not bad, Lao Li, you actually learned how to recite poems?" "Ha, this is all due to my father's influence." Li Shimin hurriedly flattered. Obviously, Li Yuan enjoyed it very much. He stroked his beard and laughed loudly. "My son's poem is very good, very good. I just don't know what Brother Zhang Feng thinks of this poem. It's okay. Doggerel, how could it not be good?" When Li Yuan heard this, he was a little surprised. Obviously, he wanted to test Zhang Feng. He stood up and said with his hands behind his back, "The sound of wind and rain, the rain hitting the banana leaves, the sound is endless. The sound of crows and thunder, the sound of thunder startling the birds, rumbling non-stop." Brother Zhang Feng, what do you think of this poem? What could Zhang Feng say? What the f***ck was this? If this was Lao Li's poem, at least there would be a bit of rhyme. But this? Nothing at all. But what could he say? He couldn't help but say with conscience, "Old Master's poem is very good, very good." It vividly described that kind of environment on a rainy night. "Then, little brother, do Do you want one too? No, 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 I won't do it. Zhang Feng waved his hands. It wasn't that he was afraid. What a joke. 300 Tang poems, he was afraid? What was there to be afraid of? He was afraid that he couldn't control it. When the time came, there would be a big problem. Chapter 4:13. When Li Yuan heard this, how could he not know that Zhang Feng was unwilling? Now that he was free, he studied the four arts. Even in his harem, there were many talented existences among those beauties. When he had nothing to do, Li Yuan would also recite a poem and study the four arts. But once he saw Zhang Feng's poem, he could not help but be infatuated. Compared to his own poem, this was a real master. At this time, he finally lured Zhang Feng to this topic. How could Li Yuan let him get off so easily? Little brother, aren't we drinking and chatting? It's fine, just treat it as drinking to relieve boredom. How about we each recite a poem to celebrate your good mood? Zhang Feng was still unwilling. But Li Yuan picked up a bowl of wine, stood up, raised both hands, and said with a solemn face, "Previously, the matter of my family as well as the conflict between my son and I were all thanks to little brother's help. Only then could it be resolved. For this, old man salutes you." How could Zhang Feng not see that this old fellow was clearly trying to get him drunk? But the other party was already like this. If he still refused, then it was not a matter of whether he could drink or not, but that he did not know manners. Good. Old man, I also salute you with a bowl. While speaking, Zhang Feng raised his neck and took a gulp. An old steed in the stable, with aspirations of 1,000 miles. A martyr in his twilight years is full of ambition. The time of shrinking is not only in the heavens, but the blessing of nourishment can be eternal. So fortunate, to sing a song of aspiration. Li Yuan drank a bowl of wine and could not help but recite Chow Chow's Although the Tortoise Lives Long. Although Li Yuan's bare chest was a little something, this made Zhang Feng feel a little emotional. Wasn't this the old man's current situation? Involuntarily, Zhang Feng could not sit still anymore. He stood up and recited, "The mountains in the south are beautiful, the snow floats in the clouds, the forest shows its color, the city adds to the cold." Good poem, good poem. Come, little brother Zhang Feng, old man salutes you with this poem. Come. Zhang Feng was not good at drinking, but under Li Yuan's bowl of wine, he did not even know where to go. Come, Lao Li, I salute you, but this poem of yours is somewhat inappropriate. It's clearly summer now. No, give me another one. Don't, brother, I drank too much, I can't drink this poem, not in any season, but in the heart. When the heart is cold, it is winter, the warm sun, it is spring, but if there is a scorching sun in the heart, then it is true summer. Zhang Feng stuttered. And Li Yuan also came up, hugging Zhang Feng's neck and said, "Then why don't you write a poem that suits the occasion?" Could it be that he had run out of words? Do you want me to sing a song? How could Zhang Feng stand such provocation? Old man, you must be joking, although our Zhang Feng's alcohol tolerance is a bit poor, but I'm not bragging in this poem. If I, Zhang Feng, dare to say that I am second, no one in the entire Tang dynasty dares to say that they are first. Li Shimin and Li Yuan looked at each other and smiled. Zhang Feng saw this, but he did not buy it. He stood up unsteadily, pointed at the two with a red face and said, "Hey, you still don't believe it? Good. Today we will make an exception and let you see. Let's talk about this Zhuge Liang. Burp, let me think. This is how it should be. The merits cover 3 parts of the country, the name of the 8-front formation, the stone does not turn in the river, the hatred of the lost swallows Wu." Li Yuan was shocked. This is Zhuge Liang's 8-front formation? This boy's poem is really awesome. But without waiting for the two to react, Zhang Feng directly hugged the wine jar and said with a big tongue, "For more, listen carefully. These 4 poems encompass the 4 seasons. Old master, please take a look at them for us. The grass on the plains, withering and blooming with each year, the wildfire cannot burn it, the spring wind blows and it grows again, the fragrance from afar invades the ancient road, the green jade connects to the desolate city, and sends the prince's grandson away, the luxuriant parting. It rains in the Qingming festival, The pedestrians on the road are heartbroken, asking where the winery is. The shepherd boy points to the apricot blossom village. Midnight is still as hot as noon, opening the door. The moon is bright, the bamboo trees are dense, the insects are chirping, sometimes there is a slight chill, just the wind. Zhang Feng seemed to be really drunk. Poems came out of his mouth one by one after another. Even Li Yuan and Li Shimin were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. This Zhang Feng boy is really talented. Li Yuan praised from the bottom of his heart. Li Shimin was also stunned. Hurriedly taking advantage of Zhang Feng's poem recitation, he hurried to the front of the tavern and waved his hand. Wei Shuyu hurriedly came forward from a hidden place. Quickly go and find someone with a good memory, someone who can write fast. Yes. After a while, a short and fat man carrying a pole appeared in the small tavern. He did not do anything, just squatted at the corner of the door, took out a brush, ink, paper and inkstone from his bosom, and hurriedly started to record. And the more he recorded, the more indescribably shocked he was. Every poem that came out of this person's mouth, which one of them was not shocking? But in his mouth, why did it sound like candy? Did it not cost money? And what happened to the emperor and the retired emperor? Could it be that a poet immortal had descended? Chapter 4:14. One poem after another. Just like this, they quickly appeared in the tavern. Li Yuan and Li Shimin were also infected by Zhang Feng and also joined the ranks of reciting poems. But this time, the person who copied it suffered. This was not enough at all. But there was no sign of the three people stopping. Later, Wei Shuyu called the three people again to join in the copying. Only then could they keep up with the rhythm. But even so, there were still many poems that were not copied. Just as the sun was setting in the west, Zhang Feng stopped reciting poems. It was not that he wanted to stop, but in the end he could not hold on and got drunk. Looking at Zhang Feng, who vomited all over the floor in front of him, Li Yuan clicked his tongue in wonder. Shimin, such a talent, why didn't you call him into the palace? Isn't it a pity to let him waste like this? Father, you don't know, this brother Zhang Feng's character is quite strange, so I can't force it. Moreover, this guy is a greedy person who is afraid of death. This guy is afraid that if he enters the court now as an official, it will attract the attention of the Guanlong group. So, he is waiting for me to clean up all the people of Guanlong before entering the palace. In the backyard of the tavern, there was no way to sit in the hall. The whole room was full of flattery from Zhang Feng's vomit. In the end, Wei Shuyu carried him back to the room, and then the little eunuch personally served Zhang Feng. At this time, Li Shimin personally brewed a pot of tea and chatted with Li Yuan in the backyard. Li Yuan sat on Zhang Feng's recliner covered with tiger skin with a curious look. Looking at the strange iron lump, he asked, "This matter, in fact, Zhang Feng is already doing it, isn't it?" Indeed, this cooperative matter is Zhang Feng's means to deal with Guanlong. Then, this time's locust business is also the same. Li Shimin nodded. That's right. Li Yuan was silent. He had never thought of such a method. Moreover, he had thought about dealing with Guanlong before. However, Guanlong's strength was too great, so he didn't dare to act rashly. There were many people in the imperial court who were Guanlong's people. However, Zhang Feng first cooperated with him and made all the currencies centralized. Then he used the locust to openly bribe the ministers and reshuffle the imperial court. Who would have thought of such a thing? Who would dare to think about it? But this Zhang Feng dared. Just because of that terrifying brain of his. About that, old master, these are the poems that brother Zhang Feng recited this time. There are more than 70 of them, but there are still many that haven't been copied. More than 70? Although Li Shimin and Li Yuan knew a lot just now, when the data came out, they were inevitably shocked. Was he still human? This brain of his, awesome. By the way, I heard that you want Zhang Feng to set up an academy. Li Yuan recovered and asked. Li Shimin nodded. Father, it is indeed so. You are also very clear about this matter. Once we go against those people, and you also know about brother Zhang Feng's ability. What Xianxia said before is true. You see, after all, I am not young anymore. If I come to learn, it is definitely impossible. Therefore, I want Qian, or to follow brother Zhang Feng? Li Yuan nodded. He didn't say anything. However, although today he only witnessed Zhang Feng's literary attainments and talent in poetry, it couldn't prove anything. Moreover, he also had to test Zhang Feng on this matter. After all, becoming the crown prince's teacher could be a big or small matter. If the people in the imperial court knew, it would be difficult to handle. Moreover, the most important thing was that it was indeed time for the imperial court to think about the successor. Let's not talk about other things first. Just the study made Li Yuan very concerned. In Li Yuan's heart, Zhang Feng was like a mystery. The more he understood, the more he felt that Zhang Feng was wrapped in a layer of fog. The more he wanted to uncover this layer of fog at this time and see what was hidden under this layer of fog. At this time, Li Yuan was really attracted by Zhang Feng's mystery. While chatting, the sky also couldn't help but darken. Li Shimin looked at the sky and then looked at Zhang Feng, who didn't show any signs of waking up. He said, "Father, why don't we go back and come back tomorrow?" Li Yuan looked at the sky and frowned slightly. "Today I won't go back. I will stay here. I think this small tavern is quite good." Li Shimin couldn't help but be shocked. "Father, this won't do. How can I let you stay here?" "What? Zhang Feng kid can stay here, but I can't? If I come back tomorrow, it will take time to go back and forth. Tonight I said I won't go back. You go back first." Li Yuan flatly rejected Li Shimin's suggestion. Instead, he just lay on the recliner and closed his eyes. This couldn't help but make Li Shimin anxious. "Father, if something happens to you, However, Li Yuan didn't even bother with Li Shimin. This couldn't help but make Li Shimin somewhat anxious. "Your Majesty, why don't you go back first? Tonight I will let Yuqi bring people here. Yuqi and I will protect Grand. Call Master Li." Li Shimin glanced at Wei Shuyu with slight